Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the original hybrid, vampire, werewolf, and which Naruto x Rebekah, the Vampire Diaries. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Awakening. The mission was supposed to be simple. A standard B-rank assignment to investigate reports of missing villagers near the border between Fire Country and the Land of Hot Water. Team 7 had handled dozens like it before. Naruto Uzumaki crouched on a high branch, watching the abandoned mining town below through narrowed blue eyes. Something felt off, but he couldn't pinpoint what. "See anything?" Sakura whispered, landing silently beside him. Her pink hair was pulled back, face serious in the moonlight. Naruto shook his head. "Nothing moving. But something's not right." Sasuke appeared on his other side. "The tracks end here. Whatever took those villagers, this is where they brought them." Naruto nodded. 3 years after bringing Sasuke back from Orochimaru's influence, Team 7 operated with the seamless coordination that made them one of Konoha's elite squads. At 19, they'd grown into their strengths: Sakura's monstrous power and healing abilities, Sasuke's precision and tactical genius, and Naruto's boundless stamina and creativity. "I smell blood," Naruto said suddenly. His sense of smell had always been unnaturally sharp, a side effect of hosting the Ninetales. Recent. Coming from that building with the collapsed roof. Kakashi joined them, his visible eyes scanning the deserted street. "We'll check it together. Stay alert, our intel's been spotty on this one." They descended in formation, moving through shadows toward the dilapidated structure. Naruto felt an unfamiliar tension crawling under his skin. The Ninetales stirred restlessly within him, more agitated than usual. "What's got you so worked up, furball?" Naruto muttered internally. The demon fox's response was uncharacteristically cryptic. "Something old walks here. Something that shouldn't exist in this age." Before Naruto could question further, they reached the building entrance. The door hung off broken hinges. Kakashi signaled and they entered, kunai ready. The smell hit Naruto immediately: blood, decay, and something else. Something wrong. The interior was pitch black, but he could somehow make out shapes where the others seemed blind. "I can't see anything," Sakura whispered. "There's bodies," Naruto said grimly. "A lot of them. Against the far wall." "How can you dash?" Sasuke started, then activated his Sharingan. "He's right." Kakashi lifted his headband, revealing his own Sharingan. "Sakura, give us some light." She produced a small light tag, activating it with a touch of chakra. Pale blue illumination filled the room, revealing the horror Naruto had already sensed. Dozens of bodies were stacked against the wall, drained of blood, their faces frozen in terror. "What could do this?" Sakura whispered, medic instincts already cataloging the strange wounds on each victim's neck. "Not what," came a voice from the darkness beyond. "Who?" Naruto spun toward the sound, kunai raised. The figure that stepped into the light looked like an ordinary middle-aged man, unremarkable brown hair, civilian clothes, pleasant face. Except for the blood dripping from his chin and the inhuman gleam in his eyes. "Ninja," the man said, smiling to reveal elongated canines. "How delightful. Your blood runs hotter than civilians. More flavorful." Kakashi stepped forward. "Identify yourself." The man laughed. "My name wouldn't mean anything to you. Your kind has forgotten us. Too busy with your chakra and your jutsus to remember the old predators." He moved with impossible speed, faster than even Kakashi could track, appearing behind Sakura in a blur. Before anyone could react, he grabbed her throat. Naruto didn't think, he just moved. One moment he was across the room, the Next he'd slammed into the attacker with enough force to separate him from Sakura and crash through the building's rear wall. "How did you dash?" the creature started, genuine surprise crossing his features as they tumbled into the moonlit clearing behind the building. Naruto didn't let him finish, creating shadow clones that converged from all directions. The man, if that's what he was, dispatched the first wave with casual ease, his movements fluid and unnaturally fast. "Interesting," he said, dodging another clone's attack. "You smell different from the others." Something familiar, yet not. Sasuke appeared behind him, Chidori crackling. "Talk less." The lightning attack struck true, piercing through the man's chest. For a moment, victory seemed certain, until the man grabbed Sasuke's wrist and smiled through the pain. "That would kill most of my kind," he said, blood bubbling from his lips. "But I'm old, little ninja." He wrenched Sasuke's arm away and flung him across the clearing. Kakashi and Sakura launched a coordinated attack, forcing the creature to dodge and weave. Naruto created more clones, searching for an opening. "What are you?" Naruto demanded. The man laughed, the hole in his chest already closing. "I'm what you call a myth, boy. A vampire. We existed long before your ninja villages, long before chakra was channeled through human hands." Naruto felt the nine tails surge within him, responding to the creature's presence. "He speaks truth," the fox growled in his mind. Before the Sage of Six Paths, before chakra, they hunted in shadows. "I thought their kind extinct." "Whatever you are, you're not taking more victims," Naruto said, forming a Rasengan. His clones moved in synchronized patterns, herding the vampire toward where Kakashi waited with a prepared trap. The vampire's eyes narrowed. "You're the container they whisper about. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki." His smile widened. "Your blood will make me invincible." He moved with renewed purpose, ignoring the others to charge directly at Naruto. The attack was too fast, too precise. Naruto felt clawed hands grip his shoulders, felt the creature's breath on his neck. Pain exploded where fangs pierced skin. Then something unexpected happened. The vampire recoiled violently, screaming as if burned. He staggered backward, wiping Naruto's blood from his mouth in disgust. "What are you?" he hissed, genuine fear replacing arrogance. Naruto pressed his hand to his bleeding neck, confused. The wound was already closing, faster than usual. Heat spread through his body, starting at the bite and racing through his veins like fire. "Kid, something's happening," the Nine Tails warned, actual concern in the demon's voice. "Your blood, it's changing." The vampire backed away. "Impossible. The bloodlines can't mix. They've never mixed." Naruto felt it then, power unlike anything he'd experienced. Different from the Nine-Tails chakra. More primal. His senses sharpened beyond even Jinchuriki levels. He could hear his teammates' heartbeats, smell their confusion and fear. The night around him brightened as if dawn had suddenly broken. And hunger. A terrible, gnawing hunger that centered on the racing pulse in the vampire's neck. "Naruto." Kakashi's voice seemed to come from miles away. "Your eyes." The vampire turned to flee, but Naruto moved without thinking. One moment he stood swaying in the clearing, the next he had the creature pinned against a tree, hand around his throat. "What did you do to me?" Naruto growled, not recognizing his own voice. "Nothing you weren't already," the vampire gasped. "The bite just woke it up. You're impossible, vampire, werewolf, and something else. A hybrid. The bloodlines reject each other. You shouldn't exist." The hunger intensified. Naruto felt new teeth pushing through his gums, sharp and demanding. "Naruto." Sakura called, approaching cautiously. "Your chakra's changing. Let me help you." The vampire used Naruto's moment of distraction to strike, claws aiming for his heart. Without conscious thought, Naruto caught the attacking hand and snapped it at the wrist. You're young, he found himself saying, words coming from some instinctive part of him. Younger than you pretend. 100 years? 2. Not old enough to challenge me. The certainty in his voice surprised even himself. The vampire's eyes widened in genuine terror. The prophecy, he whispered. The threefold being. It can't be. Naruto didn't let him finish. Acting on pure instinct, he struck, fangs finding the vampire's throat. The creature's blood flooded his mouth, carrying memories, power, knowledge. When he pulled back, the vampire's body crumpled, desiccating rapidly until only dust remained. Horror at what he'd done warred with satisfaction. Naruto wiped his mouth, turning to face his team. Their expressions, shock, concern, and in Sasuke's case, wariness, cut deeper than any blade. I don't. Naruto started, then doubled over as pain ripped through him. His bones seemed to liquefy, muscles contracting violently. Something's wrong with his chakra network, Sasuke reported, Sharingan active. It's rearranging itself. Sakura rushed forward despite Kakashi's warning. I need to stabilize him. Her hands glowed green as she pressed them to Naruto's chest. The medical jutsu that had healed countless wounds seemed to skitter across his skin without penetrating. I can't reach his chakra pathways, she said frantically. It's like they're protected by something. The pain intensified. Naruto felt consciousness slipping away. The last thing he heard was the Nine-Tails voice, uncharacteristically solemn. Rest, Kit. You're becoming what you were always meant to be. What your bloodlines have hidden for generations. Naruto woke to white ceiling tiles and the antiseptic smell of Konoha Hospital. Every sense felt amplified. He could hear conversations from rooms away, smell the flowers in the courtyard outside, feel each individual thread in the sheets covering him. He's awake, Tsunade's voice came from nearby. She appeared in his field of vision, amber eyes studying him intently. How do you feel? Naruto sat up slowly, cataloging the changes in his body. Stronger. Faster. The constant background presence of the Nine-Tails seemed muted, as if overshadowed by something else. Different, he answered honestly. What happened to me? Tsunade exchanged glances with Shizune, who stood by the door. We were hoping you could tell us. Your team brought you back 3 days ago. Your chakra system was completely restructuring itself. Even I couldn't intervene without risking permanent damage. 3 days. Naruto absorbed this information, then noticed something else, a gnawing hunger unlike anything he'd experienced before. Not for ramen or food, but for blood, he whispered, the realization hitting him. I need blood. Instead of shock or disgust, Tsunade nodded as if confirming a theory. She handed him a hospital mug that he'd assumed contained water. It didn't. Pig's blood, medically treated, she explained as he sniffed it cautiously. Drink it. We need to talk. The coppery scent should have been revolting. Instead, his body responded instantly, new teeth extending painfully. He drained the mug in seconds, the warm liquid soothing the burning in his throat. You knew this would happen, Naruto accused, wiping his mouth. Not exactly this, Tsunade sighed, sitting on the edge of his bed. But something. There were signs in your mother's family. The Uzumaki clan wasn't just known for longevity and sealing techniques. There were older powers in their bloodline. The vampire called me a hybrid, Naruto said. Said something about bloodlines that shouldn't mix. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. A vampire? They're supposed to be extinct. Obviously not, Naruto gestured to his current state. What am I, Granny? What's happening to me? She looked older suddenly, burdened by knowledge. The first Hokage kept records of what he called the bold races, beings that existed before chakra became the dominant power. Vampires, werewolves, witches, creatures of natural energy rather than chakra. He believed they had mostly died out or gone into hiding when ninja villages formed. And I'm what, turning into one of them? I think you always were, Tsunade said carefully. Your mother's Uzumaki bloodline carried which genes? It explains their natural affinity for seals and life force manipulation. And your father? Dad was a werewolf? Naruto couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. No, but he carried the gene, dormant. Many do, without knowing. The fourth never transformed, never knew. She looked at him directly. But the combination, plus the Nine Tails chakra altering your development from birth, created something new, Naruto finished, the vampire's fear suddenly making sense. Hybrid vigor, Tsunade confirmed. The strengths of multiple bloodlines without the traditional weaknesses. That vampire's bite probably triggered what was already there, waiting to activate. Naruto processed this information, feeling his world shift. Beyond the hunger and enhanced senses, he felt different at a fundamental level, as if pieces of himself that had always been misaligned suddenly clicked into place. Does anyone else know? He asked. Only those in this room, Kakashi, and your teammates, Tsunade assured him. I've classified everything related to the incident. But Naruto. She hesitated. This isn't something we can hide forever. You're changing physically. He caught his reflection in the window glass, sharper features, his whisker marks more pronounced, his eyes shifting between blue and a strange gold red when his emotions spiked. I need to learn to control it, he said, determination replacing confusion. Yes, but we don't exactly have vampire-werewolf witch hybrid experts on staff, Tsunade said dryly. You may need to find your own answers. A knock at the door interrupted them. Shizune opened it to reveal Kakashi. Ah, you're awake, his former sensei said casually, as if Naruto had merely overslept rather than undergone a supernatural transformation. Good timing. We've got a visitor you might want to meet. Who? Someone who says she's been looking for you, Kakashi replied. Or someone like you. She knew what you were before I said anything. Naruto exchanged glances with Tsunade, who nodded. Bring her in. Kakashi stepped aside, revealing a young woman Naruto had never seen before. Blonde hair fell past her shoulders, framing a face that combined delicate beauty with unmistakable danger. She moved with predatory grace, her eyes, ancient despite her youthful appearance, fixing immediately on Naruto. Well, she said, accent unfamiliar but voice smooth as honey. The rumors were true. A genuine hybrid. My brother will be absolutely beside himself. She smiled, revealing perfect teeth that Naruto somehow knew could extend into fangs at will. I'm Rebekah Michael's son. And you, darling, are going to make my century. Tsunade wasn't happy about discharging him, but Naruto insisted. The hospital's confined spaces and proximity to blood made his newfound instincts difficult to control. Each heartbeat he heard triggered a hunger response he had to consciously suppress. I need open space, he argued. Somewhere I can figure this out without risking anyone. The Hokage reluctantly agreed, with conditions, daily check-ins, blood supplements provided by the medical corps, and no missions until they understood the extent of his transformation. Rebekah Michael's son watched this negotiation with amused interest, leaning against the wall of his hospital room. You should listen to him, she interjected when Tsunade insisted on constant monitoring. Newborn vampires are unstable enough. Add werewolf instincts to the mix, and keeping him caged is asking for a bloodbath. Tsunade fixed her with a glacial stare. And why exactly should I trust your assessment? You show up out of nowhere, claiming to know what he is, but offering no credentials beyond your word. Rebekah smiled, unfazed. My credentials, Lady Hokage, are 1,000 years of existence. I'm what you'd call an original, one of the first vampires. I've seen every supernatural variation this world has to offer. Her gaze shifted to Naruto. Accept him. He's unprecedented. That doesn't explain why you're here, Naruto pointed out. Curiosity, initially, she admitted. Rumors reached my family about a being of 3 bloodlines. My brother Klaus is particularly interested, given his own hybrid nature. There are others like me. Naruto couldn't keep the hope from his voice. Not exactly like you, no. Klaus is a vampire-werewolf hybrid. The witch element makes you unique. Something flickered across her face, compassion, perhaps. I know what it's like to be the only one of your kind. To have power you don't understand and can't control. Tsunade interrupted their exchange. You still haven't answered my question. Why should we trust you? Because I'm his best chance at survival, Rebekah replied simply. Vampire urges alone can drive a newborn to madness. Add werewolf aggression and witch power surges, and he's a ticking bomb without proper guidance. She turned to Naruto. No offense, darling. None taken, he muttered, keenly aware she was right. The hunger clawed at him constantly, barely kept at bay by the medical blood. I'm not suggesting you hand him over, Rebekah continued. I'm offering to teach him. Control, adaptation, the rules of a world your ninja society has forgotten exists. Tsunade considered this, fingers drumming on her clipboard. Naruto. He met the Hokage's eyes. I need to learn, Granny. If she knows what I am, what I'm becoming. Fine, Tsunade conceded. But not alone. Kakashi will accompany you. Actually, Kakashi interjected from his position by the window, I've been assigned to track down our vampire friend's potential network. If there's one, there might be more. I'll go with him, Sakura said, appearing in the doorway. She'd clearly been listening. Her green eyes locked with Naruto's. Someone needs to monitor your medical condition. Naruto wanted to protest but saw the determination in his teammate's stance. Sakura wouldn't be dissuaded, and honestly, her presence would be comforting amid all this change. Deal, he agreed. 3 hours later, Naruto stood in his apartment, packing essentials while Sakura consulted with Tsunade about medical supplies. Rebekah had gone to make arrangements, whatever that meant. A soft knock drew his attention to the balcony window. Sasuke perched outside, face impassive. Leaving without saying goodbye, his friend asked, sliding into the room. It's not goodbye. Just temporary training, Naruto replied, stuffing shirts into his backpack. Sasuke watched him silently for a moment. You're different. No kidding. Not just physically. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Your chakra signature has changed. And you move differently. Naruto paused his packing. Does it bother you? It was a loaded question. Their friendship, hard-won through years of rivalry, betrayal, and eventual reconciliation, had always balanced on understanding each other's nature. No, Sasuke answered finally. Power is power. It's how you use it that matters. He smirked slightly. Just don't forget who's still faster. The familiar competitive jab eased some tension Naruto hadn't realized he was carrying. We'll have to test that when I get back. Here. Sasuke tossed something small that Naruto caught reflexively. A specialized kunai with communication seals etched into the handle. If you need backup, channel chakra into it. I'll find you. The offer, practical, unsentimental, but genuine, touched Naruto deeply. Thanks, Sasuke. His friend nodded once, then moved back toward the window. Learn quickly, loser. Team 7 has missions waiting. After Sasuke departed, Naruto finished packing, mind racing. Everything was changing so rapidly. 3 days ago, he'd been a Jinchuriki with dreams of becoming Hokage. Now he was something else entirely, something with hunger for blood and unknown powers simmering beneath his skin. Rebekah returned as sunset painted Konoha's skyline orange. She'd changed into practical traveling clothes that somehow still managed to look elegant. Ready, hybrid? She asked, leaning against his doorframe. Stop calling me that, Naruto grumbled. I have a name. Naruto, she pronounced it carefully. Unusual name. Says, Rebekah Michael's son, he countered. Her lips curved in amusement. Fair point. Where's your pink-haired watchdog? Medical supplies, Naruto shouldered his pack. Where exactly are we going? There's an abandoned temple complex in the mountains north of here. Remote, defensible, and far from temptation. At his questioning look, she elaborated, human temptation. Blood. We need to get your feeding under control before anything else. The casual way she discussed his need for blood unsettled him. I'm not going to attack people. Noble intention, she replied, not unkindly. But vampire hunger doesn't care about your morals. Better to accept what you are than fight it. Control comes from acknowledgement, not denial. Before Naruto could respond, Sakura arrived, medical pack in tow. She gave Rebekah a coolly professional nod. I'm ready whenever you are. Rebekah's eyebrow arched slightly at Sakura's tone. Protective, isn't she? We've been teammates since we were 12, Naruto explained. We look out for each other. How charmingly loyal, Rebekah murmured. Well then, shall we? I prefer traveling at night anyway. They left through the main gate, Naruto exchanging quick goodbyes with the guards. Word of his special training mission had already spread, though the details remained classified. The familiar weight of curious gazes followed them until they disappeared into the forest. Rebekah set a brisk pace. To Naruto's surprise, he kept up effortlessly, his new physiology responding to the physical demands without strain. Even more surprising was how clearly he could see in the darkness, every leaf, every branch defined as if illuminated. Vampire night vision, Rebekah explained when she caught him staring wonderingly at the forest around them. Useful, isn't it? It's incredible, he admitted. Everything's so sharp. Enhanced senses are just the beginning, she said. Speed, strength, healing, all amplified beyond human capacity. The werewolf side will add something different, especially during the full moon. Naruto nearly missed a step. Full moon. You mean I'll transform? Like, actually become a wolf? That's generally how lycanthropy works, yes. When's the next full moon? Rebekah glanced skyward at the waxing crescent. 12 days. We have time to prepare. Sakura, keeping pace behind them, spoke up. What about the witch aspect? What does that add to his abilities? That's the wild card, Rebekah admitted. Witch powers are typically channeled through spells and rituals. Combined with vampire and werewolf traits. She shrugged elegantly. We'll find out together. They traveled through the night, stopping only briefly for Sakura's benefit. Naruto discovered another unexpected change, physical endurance far beyond even his Jinchuriki-enhanced stamina. He felt like he could run for days without tiring. Dawn was breaking when they reached the mountain temple Rebekah had mentioned. Ancient stone structures sprawled across a hidden plateau, partially reclaimed by nature. Despite its abandonment, the complex retained a certain dignity, weathered but not defeated by time. What is this place? Sakura asked, examining inscriptions on a gatehouse column. A sanctuary, once, Rebekah replied. Built in the time before chakra, when the old races sought refuge from human persecution. My family sheltered here briefly, centuries ago. Naruto felt a strange resonance with the place, as if something in his new nature recognized the energy lingering in the stones. It feels alive somehow. Sacred ground, Rebekah nodded. Consecrated by witches, respected by vampires and werewolves alike. One of the few neutral territories during the ancient conflicts. She led them toward the central building. It should provide everything we need. The main temple had weathered better than the outlying structures. Inside, high ceilings and open spaces created an atmosphere of solemn grandeur. Dust covered everything, but the structure remained sound. Homie, Naruto commented, dropping his pack. Rebekah rolled her eyes. It needs work, obviously. But it's isolated and protected by old magic. You can unleash your abilities here without risk to innocent bystanders. When do we start? He asked. Immediately, she replied, tossing him a blood bag she produced from her own supplies. First lesson, controlled feeding. Your technique earlier was atrocious. Naruto caught the bag reflexively, then froze as the scent hit him. His new teeth extended painfully, hunger roaring to life. Sakura tensed beside him, hand moving subtly toward her medical pouch. Don't fight it, Rebekah instructed. But don't surrender to it either. Find the balance. Easier said than done. The hunger felt overwhelming, primitive and demanding. But Naruto had years of experience controlling the Nine-Tails' influence. He applied similar mental discipline, acknowledging the hunger while refusing to be ruled by it. He bit into the bag, drinking slowly and deliberately rather than giving in to the urge to tear and gulp. When finished, he wiped his mouth, meeting Rebekah's appraising gaze. Not bad, she conceded. You have remarkable control for a newborn. I've had practice keeping monsters in check, Naruto said, the Nine-Tails rumbling indignantly within him at being called a monster. Rebekah's eyes narrowed. Yes, your tenant. The fox spirit. That's another complication we'll need to address. You know about the Nine-Tails? Sakura asked sharply. I make it my business to know about potential threats and allies, Rebekah replied smoothly. A bijou sealed inside a vampire-werewolf witch hybrid. That's rather important information, wouldn't you say? Naruto exchanged glances with Sakura. Rebekah clearly knew more than she was letting on about their world. How about we make a deal, he suggested. You share what you know about my condition. And I'll tell you what you want to know about Jinchuriki. Rebekah studied him for a long moment, then smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face, making her look younger, almost vulnerable. I think I'm going to like you, Naruto Uzumaki, she said. Very well. Information exchange after you've had proper rest. Hybrid or not, even you need sleep after the transformation you've undergone. Sakura began unpacking medical equipment. I need to check his vitals first. Establish a baseline for monitoring changes. By all means, Rebekah gestured graciously. I'll secure the perimeter. Old habits die hard. When she'd gone, Sakura turned to Naruto, concern evident in her green eyes. Are you really okay? She asked quietly, pressing a stethoscope to his chest. Honestly? I don't know, he admitted. Everything feels different. Sharper. More intense. He paused. The hunger is the worst part. Sakura nodded, making notes on a small scroll. Your heartbeat is slower than normal. Temperature elevated. She met his eyes directly. Do you trust her? Naruto considered the question. I don't know her. But she knows what I am. What I'm becoming. That's worth something. Just be careful, Sakura warned. She has her own agenda, whatever she claims. Don't worry, Naruto grinned, flashing slightly elongated canines without realizing it. I'm still me. Just, extra. Sakura's answering smile didn't quite reach her eyes. The first 3 days established a routine. Mornings for physical training, testing Naruto's new strength, speed, and reflexes. Afternoons for control exercises, feeding without frenzy, managing enhanced senses, channeling emotions away from his predatory instincts. Evenings for theory, Rebekah's history lessons on the supernatural world that existed parallel to the ninja societies. Naruto proved an apt pupil, his natural adaptability accelerating the learning process. By the 4th day, he could move with vampire speed, not just running fast but transferring his consciousness with his body, processing information at superhuman rates. It's like Sage Mode on steroids, he explained to Sakura as they sat outside the temple, watching the sunset. Everything slows down around me. I can see individual dust particles in the air. Sakura nodded, making another note in her increasingly detailed medical journal. Your cellular structure continues to change. It's fascinating from a medical perspective. Glad my freakish transformation is keeping you entertained, he teased. She punched his arm lightly, or what would have been lightly before. Now he barely felt it. You know what I mean, she said. Understanding the changes might help us integrate you back into active duty eventually. The unspoken question hung between them, would he ever return to normal ninja operations? Could a blood-drinking hybrid with monstrous strength serve alongside his former teammates? I'll figure it out, Naruto said, determination hardening his voice. This is just another challenge. Like mastering Sage Mode or befriending Kurama. Sakura's expression softened. If anyone can adapt to something like this, it's you. From behind them, Rebekah's voice interrupted. Touching faith, but adaptation requires practical experience. They turned to find her standing in the temple doorway, dressed for travel. We're leaving? Naruto asked. Field trip, she corrected. There's a settlement about 40 miles east. You need to test your control around humans. Alarm flashed across Sakura's face. That seems premature. On the contrary, Rebekah countered. He's showing remarkable restraint with medical blood. But theory and controlled environments only get you so far. He needs to face real temptation in a managed setting. Naruto stood. She's right, Sakura. I can't hide up here forever. Fine, Sakura conceded reluctantly. But at the first sign of trouble, we return immediately. The journey to the settlement took less than 2 hours at their enhanced pace, with Naruto carrying Sakura for short bursts to keep up with Rebekah. They stopped just outside the village limits, a trading post frequented by merchants traveling between larger cities. Ground rules, Rebekah said, her tone brooking no argument. Stay within my sight at all times. If the hunger becomes overwhelming, signal immediately and we leave. No exceptions. Naruto nodded, already feeling the pull of dozens of heartbeats just beyond the tree line. The sound was like distant drums, calling to something primal within him. I've got this, he said, more to reassure himself than them. Rebekah studied him critically, then nodded. Remember, you control the hunger, not the other way around. They entered the settlement casually, appearing as ordinary travelers. Despite the mundane surroundings, market stalls, a small inn, villagers going about evening business, Naruto felt like he'd stepped into an entirely new world. Every conversation was clear in his ears, every scent distinct and identifiable. And beneath it all, the constant awareness of blood pulsing through veins. Temptation incarnate. Breathe through your mouth, Rebekah murmured beside him. It helps reduce the scent. He followed her advice, focusing on controlling his responses. The technique helped, but the hunger remained, simmering beneath the surface. They browsed market stalls, maintaining the appearance of normal travelers while Rebekah watched Naruto's reactions carefully. Sakura stayed close, medical pouch ready should intervention become necessary. You're doing well, Rebekah commented as they examined a weapons display. Better than I expected, honestly. High praise from the 1,000-year-old vampire, Naruto replied dryly, earning a genuine laugh from her. Your sense of humor remains intact. That's good. Many lose themselves in the transition. Their relatively peaceful testing was interrupted by commotion from the village square. Shouts and the sounds of conflict drew their attention. Bandits, someone yelled. They've broken through the east gate. Naruto tensed, instincts, both ninja and newly supernatural, coming alert. Rebekah placed a restraining hand on his arm. Not our concern, she warned. We're here to test control, not play hero. But Naruto was already moving, pulled by ingrained response to threats against civilians. Sakura followed without hesitation, medical training kicking in at the prospect of injuries. Stubborn ninjas, Rebekah muttered, reluctantly trailing after them. The scene at the east gate was chaos. A dozen rough-looking bandits had overpowered the village's minimal security. Several guards lay injured, civilians fleeing in panic. The bandits, armed with an assortment of weapons, were forcing their way toward what appeared to be the village's storage buildings. Standard formation? Sakura asked, falling into team dynamics without thought. I don't know if that's smart with my condition, Naruto hesitated. A scream cut through their debate, a young woman cornered by two bandits. Something protective and fierce rose in Naruto, overriding concerns about control. He moved before conscious decision, vampire speed carrying him across the square in the blink of an eye. One moment the woman faced imminent harm, the next her attackers lay unconscious at her feet, Naruto standing protectively before her. The display of supernatural speed attracted attention. The remaining bandits paused, reassessing the threat. What the hell was that? One muttered. Their leader, a scarred man with a broadsword, stepped forward. Doesn't matter. Kill him. 3 bandits charged simultaneously. Normal humans moving at normal human speed. To Naruto's enhanced perception, they might as well have been walking through molasses. He disarmed the first, dodged the second, and redirected the third into a market stall without apparent effort. Is he a ninja? Someone in the gathering crowd whispered. No headband, another observed. Maybe a mercenary. Sakura engaged another group of bandits with her characteristic strength, sending one flying with a chakra-enhanced punch. Rebekah watched from the sidelines, expression caught between annoyance and amusement. The bandit leader, recognizing a losing situation, decided on a desperate strategy. He grabbed a civilian hostage, an elderly shopkeeper, and pressed a blade to his throat. Back off or the old man dies, he shouted. Time seemed to slow. Naruto saw the knife breaking skin, smelled the drop of blood that welled up beneath its edge. The hunger surged, vampire instincts screaming for release. In that moment, another instinct emerged, neither vampire nor ninja, but something else. Power gathered in his palm without conscious thought, different from chakra. Whiter, cleaner, more primal. Let him go, Naruto commanded, voice resonating with unnatural authority. The bandit's expression changed from confidence to confusion. His arm trembled, then lowered involuntarily. What are you doing? He hissed to his own arm, which continued to move against his will. I said, Naruto repeated, the power building, let him go. The knife clattered to the ground. The bandit released his hostage, face contorted in fury and fear. What are you? He demanded. Naruto felt multiple energies surging within him, vampire strength, werewolf aggression, and now this strange compelling force. Which power, he realized. Magic. Someone you shouldn't have crossed, he answered simply. The remaining bandits broke and ran, their leader soon following. The village erupted in cheers, surrounding their unexpected saviors with gratitude. Through the celebration, Rebekah appeared at Naruto's side, expression thoughtful. Compulsion, she said quietly. Advanced compulsion. Most vampires need eye contact. You just spoke it into existence. Is that bad? He asked. It's unprecedented, she replied. Like everything else about you. She studied him carefully. The blood didn't trigger a feeding response. You controlled the hunger even with an open wound present. Naruto realized she was right. Despite smelling the shopkeeper's blood, his focus had remained on protection, not feeding. Maybe having a purpose helps, he suggested. Something to concentrate on besides the hunger. Rebekah's expression softened slightly. Perhaps. Your ninja principles seem to anchor your humanity. A note of genuine respect entered her voice. Most newborns wouldn't have stood a chance. Sakura joined them, having finished treating the injured guards. We should leave before people start asking too many questions. She was right. Already, curious villagers were gathering, wondering about the stranger who moved faster than sight and commanded with supernatural authority. They slipped away during the continued celebration, returning to the mountain temple under cover of darkness. As they traveled, Naruto felt something he hadn't since his transformation began: hope. Not just that he could control his new nature, but that he could use it to protect others, just as he always had. Back at the temple, Rebekah paced the main hall, energy radiating from her movements. "Today was illuminating," she said finally. "You've demonstrated control beyond any hybrid I've encountered. My brother Klaus took decades to achieve what you've managed in days. I've had practice compartmentalizing competing influences," Naruto explained. "The Nine Tails and I reached an understanding, but it took years." "Speaking of your tenant," Rebekah stopped pacing, facing him directly. "We need to address how these new powers interact with your bijou. The energies should theoretically conflict." Naruto nodded, having wondered the same. Since awakening his hybrid nature, communications with Kurama had been strangely muted, as if new barriers existed between them. "I could try entering my mindscape," he suggested. "Talk to him directly." Rebekah exchanged glances with Sakura. "Is that safe in your current state?" "Probably safer than not knowing what's happening," Sakura pointed out practically. Decision made, Naruto settled into a meditation pose in the center of the temple hall. The familiar process of turning consciousness inward felt different now, his mind structured differently, new pathways and doorways where once there had been only the single path to Kurama's cage. When he opened his eyes within his mindscape, the changes were immediately apparent. The familiar flooded corridors leading to Kurama's sealed space remained, but new architecture had emerged alongside it: elegant arched doorways, mysterious passages, and strangest of all, a night sky where before there had been only ceiling. "Took you long enough," Kurama's rumbling voice greeted him as he approached the familiar gates. The massive fox lay as always, but the cage had changed. New seals overlaid the original, not restricting but integrating, as if accommodating the altered nature of its host. "Things have been busy," Naruto replied, studying these changes. "How are you feeling?" Kurama snorted. "Rearranged. Your transformation affected the seal, created new channels for your power and mind to intermingle." "Is that dangerous?" "Unknown," the fox admitted. "No Jinchuriki has ever become what you now are. The energies are negotiating territory." As if to illustrate his point, Naruto noticed currents of energy flowing through his mindscape, the familiar red of Kurama's chakra, but also midnight blue that he somehow knew represented vampire essence, silver for werewolf, and a surprising golden light that must be witch magic. "They're not fighting," he observed. "No," Kurama agreed, seeming surprised himself. "Adapting instead. Your Uzumaki vitality at work, perhaps. Always were unnaturally good at incorporating foreign energies." A new presence made itself known, a soft voice from one of the arched doorways. "Or perhaps it's because they recognize their true master." Naruto turned to find a woman watching him. Not physically present like Kurama, more an impression of energy given form. Her features shifted slightly when viewed directly, but the impression was of ancient wisdom and carefully contained power. "Who are you?" he asked, though some part of him already suspected. "I am the memory of your witch bloodline," she answered. "The collective knowledge of generations, awakened by your transformation. Not truly conscious, merely an echo. Like a bloodline memory," Naruto guessed. "Stored in my DNA." She nodded, pleased. "The Uzumaki were witches before they were ninja. The sealing arts you know are merely formalized versions of the spellcraft your ancestors wielded. And the vampire and werewolf aspects have their own memory echoes," she gestured to the other doorways. "Though they manifest differently. Instinct rather than knowledge. Power rather than technique." Kurama rumbled thoughtfully. "This explains the restructuring of your chakra network. It's accommodating these awakened bloodlines." Naruto processed this information, possibilities unfolding in his mind. "So I can access ancestral knowledge. Learn techniques my Uzumaki ancestors knew. With practice and proper channeling, yes, the witch echo confirmed. Though vampire and werewolf traits will come more naturally, they're physical manifestations rather than learned skills. Naruto turned back to Kurama. And your chakra? Can I still access it? Of course, the fox sounded almost offended. Though the mechanism has changed. Our energies will blend differently now, more complementary than combative. The witch echo began to fade. I cannot maintain this form long. The memories are scattered, fragmented by generations of dormancy. You must reassemble the knowledge through practice and intuition. Before she disappeared entirely, Naruto called out, "Wait. Is there anything else I should know? Any warnings?" Her form wavered, voice growing distant. Balance is key. All three aspects must be honored. Favor one above the others, and the harmony will break. And beware those who would use you for your uniqueness. Power such as yours draws those who would corrupt or control it. With those cryptic words, she vanished back into the doorway from which she'd emerged. Naruto turned to Kurama, who seemed to be considering her words carefully. Cheerful, the fox commented. But not wrong. You've become something unprecedented, Kit. There will be those who fear that, and others who covet it. Like Rebekah and her family? Naruto asked. Kurama's massive tails swished thoughtfully. Perhaps. Watch her closely. Her interest may be genuine, but rarely do beings as old as she claims act without purpose. Naruto nodded, taking this advice seriously. I should return. Sakura will worry if I meditate too long. Be careful, Naruto, Kurama said, uncharacteristic concern in his voice. You're stronger now, but also a target for forces outside your ninja world's understanding. With that warning echoing in his mind, Naruto withdrew from his mindscape, opening his eyes to find both Sakura and Rebekah watching him intently. Well? Rebekah prompted. How is your fuzzy friend? The casual reference to Kurama surprised him. He's adapting. Like I am. Naruto stood, stretching muscles that had stiffened during his meditation. There's more to this transformation than just physical changes. I have access to ancestral memories, knowledge from my bloodlines. Sakura's eyes widened. Like a Kekei Genkai? Similar, but different, he tried to explain. Not just inherited abilities, but actual memories and knowledge. The Uzumaki witch bloodline especially. Rebekah's expression sharpened with interest. That's extremely rare. Most vampires and werewolves inherit instincts, not memories. Witches occasionally pass down specific spells through bloodlines, but comprehensive knowledge transfer is almost unheard of. Lucky me, Naruto said dryly. This changes our approach, Rebekah decided. If you can access ancestral knowledge, we should focus on drawing it out, helping you organize and utilize it. Sakura looked thoughtful. The Yamanaka clan has techniques for memory organization. When we return to Konoha, Ino might be able to help. If we return to Konoha, Naruto corrected quietly. Both women looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Sakura demanded. Naruto sighed, voicing concerns that had been building since his transformation began. I don't know if I belong there anymore. What I'm becoming, it's not just different, it's something most people in Konoha wouldn't understand or accept. That's ridiculous, Sakura argued immediately. Your friends don't care what you are. We never did, even when you were just a Jinchuriki. It's not that simple, Rebekah interjected, surprising them both by taking Sakura's side. Hybrids exist between worlds, never fully belonging to any single community. It's a lonely existence. Something like sympathy crossed her face. Trust me, I understand isolation. My family has experienced it for 1,000 years. So what, I'm supposed to just give up my home? My dream of becoming Hokage? Naruto challenged. No, Rebekah said firmly. You adapt. Find a new dream that incorporates all aspects of who you are now. She smiled slightly. Perhaps being Hokage is too limited a goal for someone who could potentially bridge supernatural and ninja worlds. Before Naruto could respond to this perspective shift, a new scent caught his attention, unfamiliar humans approaching the temple complex. His head snapped toward the entrance, enhanced senses extending outward. Someone's coming, he said tersely. 5 people. Armed. Rebekah tensed beside him, vampire instincts similarly alert. Not random travelers. They're moving with purpose, surrounding the complex. Sakura reached for her weapons pouch. Bandits from the village seeking revenge? No, Naruto closed his eyes, focusing his senses. They smell different. Like chemicals and metal. And their movements are too coordinated. Hunters, Rebekah hissed, true alarm crossing her face for the first time. Vampire hunters. That's ridiculous, Sakura scoffed. Vampires are barely known in our world anymore. Who would specifically hunt them? You'd be surprised what ancient organizations survive, Rebekah replied grimly. Some families have hunted supernatural beings for generations, passing down knowledge and techniques. Naruto moved to the temple entrance, peering into the moonlit courtyard. Whoever they are, they're not being subtle. They want us to know they're here. As if confirming his assessment, a voice called out from the darkness. We know what you are, abomination. Come out and face judgment. Rebekah cursed under her breath. Definitely hunters. Dramatic bunch. We should talk to them, Naruto decided. Maybe they're just responding to rumors from the village. If we explain, hunters don't explain or negotiate, Rebekah cut him off. They eliminate what they don't understand. Particularly something as unprecedented as you. Another call from outside, send out the hybrid. The female vampire can leave unharmed, our quarrel isn't with her today. They know exactly who we are, Sakura realized. This isn't random. Naruto exchanged glances with his companions. I'm not hiding in here while they threaten us. If they want to talk to the abomination, they've got it. Before either woman could protest, he stepped through the temple doorway into the courtyard, hands deliberately empty and posture relaxed despite his alertness. I'm here, he called out. Let's talk face to face. 5 figures emerged from various positions around the courtyard, 3 men and 2 women, dressed in practical dark clothing with numerous weapons visible. Their leader, a middle-aged man with a scarred face, stepped forward. The hybrid speaks as if it were human, he observed coldly. Interesting. I am human, Naruto replied evenly. Among other things. That's what makes you dangerous, the hunter said. Neither one thing nor another. No natural laws govern your existence. Naruto sensed Sakura and Rebekah moving into position behind him, ready to act if needed. He kept his focus on the hunters. You didn't come all this way just to share philosophy, he pointed out. What do you want? The hunter reached into his coat, producing a scroll sealed with a symbol Naruto didn't recognize. We represent the purifiers, guardians of the boundary between supernatural and natural worlds. For centuries, we've maintained separation between ninja society and the old races. Zealots, Rebekah muttered behind Naruto. They believe supernatural and human worlds must remain distinct. The hunter continued as if she hadn't spoken. Your existence threatens everything we've worked to maintain. A being of 3 bloodlines, plus Jinchuriki status, creates an unstable convergence point. I didn't ask for any of this, Naruto pointed out. Irrelevant, the hunter replied. The danger remains. However. He held up the scroll. Our leadership offers an alternative to elimination. Your service, in exchange for your life. You're recruiting me? Naruto couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. We're offering purpose, the hunter corrected. Your unique nature would make you valuable in our work. Help maintain the boundaries between worlds, and will help you control your condition. Sakura stepped forward. And if he refuses? The hunter's expression hardened. Then we eliminate the threat. His eyes moved to Rebekah. Starting with the original who's accelerating his development. Tension crackled in the night air. Naruto assessed their options rapidly. 5 hunters against a medical ninja, an original vampire, and whatever he himself had become. The odds favored their side, but the hunters wouldn't have approached without confidence in their methods. I need time to consider, Naruto said finally. The hunter studied him, then nodded. Until dawn. The scroll contains our terms and contact protocols. He tossed it to Naruto, who caught it reflexively. Choose wisely, hybrid. There are worse fates than joining our cause. With that cryptic warning, the hunters melted back into the darkness, though Naruto's enhanced senses told him they hadn't gone far. Well, Rebekah said dryly once they'd retreated to the temple interior, that was unexpected. You knew about these purifiers? Sakura demanded. I've heard rumors, Rebekah admitted. Fanatical humans dedicated to keeping supernatural beings separate from ninja society. They're usually more subtle than this. You're unusually calm about people threatening to kill you, Naruto observed. Rebekah smiled thinly. When you've lived 1,000 years, death threats become rather routine. Besides, they know better than to truly challenge an original without significant preparation. Naruto examined the scroll, breaking the seal. Ancient text filled the parchment, alongside diagrams of what appeared to be sealing techniques. They want me to help them maintain barriers, he said as he scanned the content. Between what they call the natural world and the shadow realms. They believe my hybrid nature allows me to cross these barriers safely. That might actually be true, Rebekah admitted reluctantly. Hybrids can sometimes access places single-blooded beings cannot. This is insane, Sakura protested. You're not considering their offer. Naruto rolled the scroll closed. No. But I am curious why they revealed themselves. If they've worked in secret for centuries, why approach me openly? Because you scare them, Rebekah realized. Your existence breaks all their rules. You're too powerful to eliminate easily, but too dangerous to ignore. What do we do? Sakura asked. They're still out there. Naruto made a decision. We learn more. About the purifiers, about these barriers they maintain, and about why my existence threatens them so much. He turned to Rebekah. You know more than you're telling us. She didn't deny it. Some things you weren't ready to hear. But perhaps now. She sighed. The supernatural and ninja worlds weren't always separate. The barriers the purifiers maintain are artificial constructs, created during the Sage of Six Paths era. Why? Sakura pressed. Fear, mainly. Rebekah explained. As chakra use spread among humans, the old races, vampires, werewolves, witches, became both threat and target. The sage himself helped design the barrier system, believing separation would prevent extinction-level conflict. Naruto processed this revelation. And now I exist on both sides of that barrier. Exactly, Rebekah nodded. You're not just a hybrid of supernatural bloodlines. You're a bridge between worlds that powerful forces have worked centuries to keep separate. The implications were staggering. Naruto's mind raced, connecting pieces of a puzzle he hadn't known existed until days ago. There's more to your interest in me than just curiosity, isn't there? He asked Rebekah directly. Her expression became guarded. My brother sent me to find you for a reason, yes. And that reason is? Rebekah hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. There's a prophecy. Ancient, even by my standards. It speaks of a threefold being who could break ancient curses and reunite divided worlds. You think that's me, Naruto said flatly. The coincidences are compelling, she admitted. A vampire-werewolf witch hybrid born to a Jinchuriki lineage. The prophecy specifically mentions one who carries a beast yet is neither container nor contained. Sakura looked skeptical. Prophecies are notoriously vague and open to interpretation. Agreed, Rebekah said. But the purifiers clearly believe it too. Why else would they risk revealing themselves? Naruto paced the temple floor, mind working through implications. So I have hunters who want to either recruit or kill me, a 1,000-year-old vampire family interested in some prophecy I might fulfill, and the small detail of being the first of my kind with powers I barely understand. When you put it that way, Rebekah said with unexpected humor, your desire to be Hokage seems almost mundane. Despite everything, Naruto found himself laughing. The absurdity of his situation, when laid out so plainly, was almost liberating. Okay, he said, determination replacing confusion. We don't have until dawn. We need to move now, find someplace the hunters won't expect. I know several safe locations, Rebekah offered. And I need to report to Tsunade, Sakura added. The appearance of these purifiers changes things. If they've been operating in secret within ninja territories. Naruto nodded. We'll split up. Sakura, return to Konoha. Tell Granny Tsunade everything. Rebekah and I will find somewhere to continue my training while gathering information on these purifiers. I don't like leaving you, Sakura protested. I'll be fine, he assured her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Rebekah may have her own agenda, but right now our interests align. And I'm stronger than I've ever been. Sakura studied him for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. Fine. But take this. She handed him a specialized scroll. Medical supplies and blood supplements. And this. A small transmitter tagged with a tracking seal. So I can find you when I return. Always prepared, Naruto smiled, genuinely touched by her concern. They packed quickly, working in efficient silence. As they prepared to separate at the temple entrance, Sakura pulled Naruto into a fierce hug. Be careful, she whispered. Your heart might be different now, but it's still in the right place. Don't lose that. Never, he promised. They slipped out of the temple through a hidden passage Rebekah had discovered, splitting up once clear of the immediate area. Sakura headed southwest toward Konoha while Naruto followed Rebekah northeast, deeper into the mountains. The hunters will expect us to return to ninja territory, Rebekah explained as they traveled. We're heading to an old sanctuary few remember exists. They moved through the night at supernatural speed, covering ground that would take normal travelers days to traverse. Naruto found himself adapting to his new capabilities with increasing ease, the vampire grace and werewolf endurance becoming extensions of his ninja training rather than replacements. For it. As they ran, Rebekah spoke of the world beyond what Naruto had known, vampire covens hidden in plain sight, werewolf packs maintaining territories in remote regions, witch covens preserving ancient knowledge. A parallel society existing alongside the ninja world, separated by barriers both physical and perceptual. Why tell me all this now? Naruto asked during a brief rest. Rebekah's expression was uncharacteristically open. Because the purifier's appearance changes things. I intended to introduce you to this world gradually, but we no longer have that luxury. She hesitated. And because, despite my better judgment, I find myself trusting you. That sounds painful for you, he observed with a slight smile. Excruciating, she agreed, returning his smile with a genuine one of her own. I've learned caution over centuries. Trust rarely ends well for immortals. I'm not asking for centuries, Naruto said. Just honesty while we figure this out together. Rebekah studied him, something unreadable in her ancient eyes. You're different from what I expected, Naruto Uzumaki. My brother thought you'd be a weapon we could aim at our enemies. I'm beginning to think you might be something far more valuable. What's that? Her smile turned wistful. A friend. Perhaps even an ally who shares our goals rather than serving them. She straightened, mask of casual confidence returning. But that's quite enough sentimentality for one night. We have miles to cover before dawn. As they continued their journey, Naruto reflected on how dramatically his life had changed in just a few days. From Jinchuriki ninja with dreams of leadership to supernatural hybrid at the center of ancient prophecies and conflicts. Yet somehow, the path ahead felt right, as if pieces of himself that had never quite fit were finally finding their proper place. Whatever he was becoming, whatever challenges these purifiers or others might present, he would face them as he always had, with determination, creativity, and the unwavering belief that connections between people mattered more than the divisions between worlds. The full moon would come soon, bringing his first transformation. Prophecies waited to be fulfilled or defied. A hidden world beckoned beyond artificial barriers. And Naruto Uzumaki, ninja, Jinchuriki, and now the first vampire-werewolf witch hybrid, raced toward all of it, golden eyes bright in the darkness, newfound power humming through his veins like a promise. Chapter 2, Connection. The sanctuary wasn't what Naruto expected. After hours of travel through mountain passes and hidden valleys, Rebekah led him to what looked like an abandoned temple similar to the one they'd left behind. But appearances proved deceiving. Beneath the weathered exterior lay a network of underground chambers, spacious, surprisingly modern, and clearly designed for long-term habitation. "Home sweet home," Rebekah announced, dropping her travel pack on a polished stone table. "At least temporarily." Naruto took in the unexpected luxury, comfortable furnishings, electric lighting powered by a generator humming somewhere deeper in the complex, and what appeared to be modern plumbing. "You just happen to have fully stocked supernatural hideouts scattered around the continent?" he asked. Rebekah shrugged, the casual gesture at odds with the tension still lingering between them. "When you've lived as long as I have, safe houses become a necessity. My family maintains dozens worldwide." Their journey had been largely silent, the revelation of Rebekah's hidden agenda creating a barrier that neither had attempted to breach. Now, confined together in this underground sanctuary, the unspoken questions demanded attention. "So," Naruto said, dropping onto a couch that was far more comfortable than it looked, "your brother sent you to find me because of some prophecy. Were you ever planning to tell me?" Rebekah's eyes flashed with annoyance. "Eventually, yes. But springing, hello, you're the subject of an ancient prophecy that could reshape supernatural society on someone who just discovered vampires exist seemed counterproductive." "Fair point," Naruto conceded. "But we're past that now. I need the whole truth, Rebekah. No more convenient omissions." She studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "The truth is complicated and spans centuries. How much do you know about the origins of chakra in your world?" "The basics. The Sage of Six Paths introduced chakra to humanity, taught people to use it for peace rather than war." "That's the simplified version," Rebekah said, settling into an armchair across from him. "The reality is messier. Chakra didn't come from nowhere. It was a deliberate adaptation of natural energy, the same energy that powers witch spells, allows vampires to transcend death, and gives werewolves their transformation abilities." Naruto leaned forward. "You're saying chakra is just repackaged supernatural energy?" "Essentially. The sage discovered that humans could safely channel natural energy if it was first filtered through their own physical and spiritual energies. Pure natural energy was too dangerous for most humans to wield directly, it would overwhelm and destroy them. But supernatural beings could handle it. We evolved to channel it differently," Rebekah explained. "Vampires convert it to physical enhancements, werewolves store it for transformation, witches manipulate it through spells. Each race specialized." Naruto processed this information. "And I somehow combine all three approaches?" "That's what makes you unprecedented," Rebekah confirmed. "You channel natural energy through three distinct pathways simultaneously, plus your Jinchuriki seal adds a fourth dimension entirely." "The prophecy," Naruto prompted. "What exactly does it say?" Rebekah's expression became guarded. The original text is ancient and cryptic. But the key passage speaks of a being of threefold nature, neither bound by moon nor thirst nor spell, who carries a beast yet is neither container nor contained. Through them, the sundered shall reunite, and the curse of division shall break. That's vague, Naruto said, unimpressed. Prophecies usually are, Rebekah replied with a hint of amusement. But the specifics align too closely to ignore. 3 supernatural bloodlines in one being, plus a tailed beast connection. The odds of such a combination occurring randomly are astronomical. What's this curse of division it mentions? Rebekah hesitated. That's where interpretations vary. My brother believes it refers to the separation of supernatural races. Vampires, werewolves, and witches have been at odds for millennia. Others think it means the barriers between your ninja world and the supernatural realm. And what do you think? Naruto asked, sensing her uncertainty. I think prophecies are dangerous things to build plans around, she answered carefully. They have a way of fulfilling themselves in unexpected ways. Naruto stood, restless energy driving him to move. So your brother sent you to find me, confirm I'm this prophesied hybrid, then what? Bring me back like some trophy? Initially, yes, she admitted. Klaus has spent centuries trying to break the werewolf curse that limits his hybrid nature. He believed you might hold the key. And now? Rebekah met his gaze directly. Now I'm not sure. You're nothing like we expected. Less monster, more Naruto. Something in her tone made him pause. The admission felt genuine, a crack in the careful composure she maintained. Is that a compliment? He asked with a slight smile. Don't let it go to your head, she replied, but her expression softened. Look, my family's intentions aren't always pure, we've survived 1,000 years by putting ourselves first. But these purifiers change the calculation. They won't stop hunting you, and they have resources and knowledge specifically designed to combat supernatural beings. So we have mutual enemies, Naruto concluded. That's something. More than you might think, Rebekah said. Now, you should rest. The full moon comes in 9 days, and we need you at full strength for your first transformation. The reminder of his impending werewolf transformation sobered Naruto. About that, exactly how bad is it going to be? Rebekah's expression told him everything. We'll prepare as much as possible, she said, which wasn't an answer at all. Again, Rebekah commanded, circling Naruto in the training chamber they'd converted from a lower level of the sanctuary. Focus on separating the bloodlines. 3 days had passed since their arrival. After establishing a secure perimeter and communication protocols with Sakura, they'd focused entirely on preparing Naruto for the challenges ahead, particularly his first full moon. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he concentrated, trying to isolate the different supernatural energies flowing through him. According to Rebekah, learning to separate and control each aspect individually would make the werewolf transformation less agonizing. I can feel them, he gritted out, but they're interconnected. When I pull on one, the others respond. That's because you're still thinking like a ninja, Rebekah said. Chakra is meant to flow as a unified force. Natural energy in its pure form is wilder, more distinct. Naruto closed his eyes, diving deeper into his internal landscape. Within his mindscape, he could visualize the different energies, vampire essence like midnight water, werewolf power pulsing silver white with the waxing moon's influence, witch magic glowing golden with potential. And weaving through it all, the familiar red chakra of Kurama. She's not wrong, Kit, the Nine-Tails commented from his sealed space. You're trying to control everything simultaneously. These powers existed before chakra, they don't follow the same rules. Taking this advice, Naruto stopped trying to command the energies and instead listened to them, feeling their natural rhythms and patterns. The vampire essence responded to his heartbeat, the werewolf power to his breath, the witch magic to his thoughts. There, Rebekah said, noticing the change in his stance. You're getting it. Naruto opened his eyes, seeing the world through new awareness. It's like, different instruments in the same orchestra. They play together but remain distinct. Poetic, Rebekah commented, but her tone held approval. Now channel just the vampire aspect. He focused on the midnight essence, letting it flow forward while gently holding the others back. The effect was immediate, his senses sharpened dramatically, the world slowing around him as vampire speed and reflexes activated. Rebekah threw a punch at half her true speed, still faster than most jonin could track. Naruto sidestepped it effortlessly, the movement feeling natural and fluid. Good, she nodded. Now which? He shifted focus, suppressing vampire essence and drawing forward the golden energy. It responded differently, less physical enhancement, more connection to the environment. He felt the stones beneath his feet, the air currents in the room, the subtle pulse of natural energy flowing through everything. Acting on instinct, he extended his hand toward a practice dummy across the room. Move, he commanded, infusing the word with intent. The dummy slid sideways as if pushed by invisible hands. Telekinesis, Rebekah observed. Basic witch ability, but impressive without training or spell work. You have a natural affinity. Pride flickered through Naruto. After days of frustrating attempts, he was finally making tangible progress. Now Werewolf, Rebekah instructed. But carefully. The moon's influence grows stronger each day. Naruto reached for the silver-white energy, which surged eagerly in response. Too eagerly. It flooded his system before he could moderate the flow, triggering an immediate partial transformation. Pain lanced through his body as bones began shifting, muscles expanding. His vision tinged red, primal aggression replacing conscious thought. Control it. Rebekah's voice seemed distant. Find your anchor. Anchor. The concept penetrated the haze of instinct. Werewolves used emotional anchors to maintain humanity during transformation. Naruto grasped desperately for something steady, his dream of being Hokage, his bonds with friends, his ninja way. The silver energy receded slightly, enough for him to reassert control. His partially transformed body, elongated canines, sharpened nails, eyes glowing gold, remained, but his mind cleared. That was close, he panted, feeling the werewolf aspect reluctantly retreating. Rebekah approached cautiously. The moon's pull is stronger than I anticipated. Your first transformation may be more difficult than standard werewolves experience. Great, Naruto muttered. Any other good news? Actually, yes, she surprised him by saying. Your recovery was impressive. Most new werewolves would have lost control completely with that much lunar energy flowing through them. Your Jinchuriki experience is clearly helping. Naruto straightened, the pain subsiding. Years of keeping Kurama in check taught me a few things about internal monsters. The Nine Tails, Rebekah clarified. You call him Kurama? That's his name, Naruto said simply. He's not just a power source. He has thoughts, feelings, a personality. Rebekah looked genuinely intrigued. You speak of him as a friend. He is now. Wasn't always. Naruto stretched, feeling his body return fully to human form. We had to work through some issues. Massive destruction, attempted murder, the usual relationship hurdles. A startled laugh escaped Rebekah. You continue to surprise me, Naruto Uzumaki. Most people would be traumatized by hosting a destructive entity, yet you befriended yours. Life's too short for permanent enemies, he replied, then grinned. Well, your life isn't short, but you get the idea. Something in Rebekah's expression shifted, a guardedness falling away. How do you do that? Do what? Find humor in impossible situations. Remain so, fundamentally yourself despite everything changing around you. Naruto considered the question seriously. I've never really had the luxury of falling apart. When bad stuff happens, I deal with it, adapt, and keep moving forward. Being stuck in one place, physically, emotionally, whatever, that's what scares me. Rebekah studied him with newfound interest. 1,000 years, and I still find myself surprised by humanity occasionally. Is that why you stay separate from it? Naruto asked, seizing the opportunity to learn more about his enigmatic mentor. Your family lives apart from both supernatural and human societies, from what you've said. We've learned the hard way that integration rarely ends well, she replied, a shadow crossing her features. Vampires aren't meant to form attachments to mortals. The loss becomes unbearable over centuries. The admission revealed vulnerability Rebekah rarely displayed. Naruto recognized the loneliness behind her words, a different kind than he'd experienced, but loneliness nonetheless. That sounds isolating, he said quietly. It's necessary, she countered, mask sliding back into place. Sentiment is a luxury immortals can't afford. Maybe that's why you're all so dramatic, Naruto observed, deliberately lightening the tone. 1,000 years of emotional constipation. Rebekah blinked, then laughed, a genuine sound of surprise and amusement. You're absolutely incorrigible. I've been called worse, he grinned. Usually by Sakura right before she punches me through a wall. Their training session evolved into swapped stories, Naruto describing Team 7's misadventures, Rebekah countering with carefully selected tales from her centuries of existence. Neither mentioned prophecies or impending dangers, allowing themselves a temporary reprieve from weightier concerns. Later, as they shared a meal, normal food for Naruto, blood from Rebekah's private stock for her, Naruto noticed she seemed more relaxed than he'd seen her before. Your family, he ventured cautiously. You don't talk about them much beyond Klaus. Rebekah's expression remained neutral, but her finger traced the rim of her glass in a gesture he'd come to recognize as discomfort. My family is complicated, she said finally. Klaus you know about. There's also Elijah, the noble one, always trying to save Klaus from himself. Cole, the wild card. And Finn, though he's been daggered for centuries. Daggered? In a state of suspended animation, she clarified. We're difficult to kill permanently, but we can be neutralized. Your brother daggered one of your siblings. Naruto couldn't hide his shock. Klaus has daggered all of us at various points, Rebekah said matter-of-factly. When we displease him or threaten his plans. Naruto stared at her. And you still work with him? After he's basically killed you multiple times? He's my brother, she said, as if that explained everything. Perhaps for her, it did. Family is all we have, in the end. 1,000 years teaches you to forgive much. Or maybe it just teaches you to normalize messed up situations, Naruto suggested gently. Rebekah's eyes flashed dangerously. You know nothing about my family. I know what it's like to make excuses for people who hurt you because you're afraid of being alone, he replied, thinking of his own complicated history with Sasuke. The comparison struck a nerve. Rebekah stood abruptly, glass slamming down with enough force to crack it. We're done for tonight. Rest. Tomorrow we'll focus on controlling your werewolf aspect specifically. She left before he could respond, disappearing into her private quarters. Naruto sighed, recognizing he'd pushed too far too fast. Centuries of family dynamics wouldn't unravel with a single conversation. Subtle as always, Kit, Kurama commented dryly within his mind. Yeah, Naruto muttered aloud. I'm working on it. The sanctuary's perimeter alarm woke Naruto from a fitful sleep. He was on his feet instantly, vampire reflexes activating without conscious thought. Rebekah appeared in his doorway seconds later. Intruders, she confirmed. At least 8, approaching from the east ridge. Purifiers? Most likely. They're using some kind of chakra suppression field, I can feel it affecting the outer wards. Naruto pulled on his gear quickly. How'd they find us? Unknown, Rebekah's expression was grim. But they've come prepared. The suppression field won't affect our vampire abilities, but it might impact your witch aspects and Jinchuriki powers. So we're fighting on their terms, Naruto concluded. Not my favorite approach. We could retreat, Rebekah suggested. The sanctuary has escape tunnels. Naruto shook his head. Running just delays the inevitable. Better to face them here, on ground we know, than be hunted across unfamiliar territory. A reluctant smile touched Rebekah's lips. I should have expected that response. Very well, let's greet our uninvited guests. They moved through the sanctuary, activating defensive measures Rebekah had installed over decades. Naruto was impressed by the thoroughness of her preparations, everything from traditional traps to modern security systems integrated seamlessly with supernatural protections. The inner chamber is most defensible, she explained as they reached the sanctuary's heart. We'll let them penetrate the outer defenses, then spring our own trap. Naruto nodded, trusting her experience with siege situations. Through their mental link, he communicated with Kurama. I can feel the suppression field, the fox confirmed. It's interfering with our connection. I can still provide chakra, but not as much or as quickly as usual. Save it for when we really need it, Naruto replied. I'll rely on vampire and werewolf abilities for now. The first explosion rocked the sanctuary minutes later, the purifiers breaching the outermost entrance. Through security monitors, Naruto watched black-clad figures moving with military precision through the corridors, disabling traps as they encountered them. They're well-trained, he observed. Not standard ninja techniques. The purifiers recruit from both worlds, Rebekah explained. XNBU, hunter families, even former supernatural beings who've turned against their own kind. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he spotted familiar equipment. Those seals they're carrying, they look like modified containment seals. Similar to what's used on tailed beasts. They've come specifically for you, Rebekah concluded. I'm merely a bonus. The intruders split into teams, methodically clearing rooms as they advanced deeper. Rebekah touched a control panel, sealing reinforced doors throughout the complex. That won't hold them long, but it will funnel them toward our chosen battleground. True to her prediction, the purifiers converged on the central chamber's approaches minutes later. Naruto and Rebekah positioned themselves strategically, ready to engage from advantageous positions. The doors blew inward with controlled explosions. Smoke billowed through the chamber, smoke laced with something that made Naruto's enhanced senses recoil. Vervain, Rebekah hissed. Vampire deterrent. Hold your breath. Purifiers surged through the smoke, weapons ready. They moved with coordinated efficiency, covering angles and immediately identifying potential threats. Their leader, a hard-faced woman with a prominent scar across her jaw, directed the operation with hand signals. Hybrid, she called out. We know you're here. Surrender peacefully and no harm will come to you. Somehow I doubt that, Naruto replied, voice echoing through the chamber to disguise his position. The original can leave unharmed, the leader continued. Our quarrel isn't with the Michael sons today. Rebekah's laugh rang out, deliberately taunting. How considerate. Unfortunately, I've grown rather attached to my hybrid companion. The leader signaled her team, who spread out in search formation. Then you'll share his fate. Naruto caught Rebekah's eye across the chamber and nodded. They launched their counterattack simultaneously, Naruto dropping from concealment above while Rebekah blurred forward with vampire speed. The purifiers responded instantly, but even their training couldn't fully prepare them for supernatural speed. Naruto disabled two before they could react, using precise strikes to incapacitate rather than kill. Rebekah showed less restraint, breaking bones and inflicting strategic injuries to remove threats efficiently. Behind you. Naruto called as a purifier emerged from the smoke with a weapon he didn't recognize. Rebekah spun, but not quite fast enough. The device discharged, firing what looked like wooden stakes laced with some kind of liquid. One grazed her arm, drawing a hiss of pain. Vervain-coated steaks, she snarled. Delightful. Naruto moved to intercept the attacker, channeling vampire speed and werewolf strength simultaneously. The combination made him nearly unstoppable in close combat, his movements too fast and powerful for the purifiers to counter effectively. But their opponents had planned for this. The leader activated a device that pulsed with energy, creating a localized field that made Naruto's supernatural abilities flicker like a failing light. Dampening field, Rebekah warned. It won't disable our powers completely, but it will weaken them. The balance shifted. What had been a one-sided encounter became a more even fight as the purifiers regained tactical advantage. They worked in pairs, one engaging while the other prepared specialized countermeasures. Naruto adapted, falling back on his ninja training when supernatural abilities faltered. Shadow clones proved impossible under the suppression field, but his taijutsu remained effective, enhanced by muscle memory developed through years of training. Rebekah fought with the skill of centuries, her techniques evolving moment by moment as she identified and countered purifier tactics. Even weakened, an original vampire presented a formidable challenge. For several minutes, the battle appeared deadlocked. Then the leader revealed their true strategy. Now, she commanded. Four purifiers simultaneously activated sealing tags, creating a barrier pattern that surrounded Naruto and Rebekah. The energy signature was familiar, similar to containment seals, but modified with elements Naruto didn't recognize. Vampire-specific components, Rebekah realized too late. They've adapted your ninja sealing techniques. The barrier contracted rapidly, forcing them back-to-back in the center of the chamber. Naruto attempted to counter with his own sealing knowledge, drawing on Uzumaki techniques, but the suppression field interfered with his ability to mold chakra effectively. Any brilliant ideas? Rebekah asked, voice tight with tension. Naruto reached for his werewolf aspect, hoping the moon-driven power might break through the suppression. The silver energy responded sluggishly, partially inhibited but not completely blocked. Maybe one, he replied. But it's risky. Compared to capture by fanatical purifiers, I'll take risky. Naruto closed his eyes, diving deep into his internal landscape. The werewolf power resisted his control, wanting to surge forth unrestrained. Instead of fighting this instinct, he channeled it deliberately toward his witch bloodline, using the werewolf's raw force to amplify magical potential. Cover me for 10 seconds, he instructed. Rebekah moved to shield him physically as he concentrated. Within his mindscape, Kurama observed the energy manipulation with interest. Clever approach. The fox commented. Using one aspect to empower another. But be careful, the energies aren't meant to interact so directly. The warning came too late. As Naruto forced werewolf energy through witch pathways, the powers combined chaotically, creating a feedback loop that escaped his control. The resulting surge manifested physically as a shockwave of raw natural energy that exploded outward from his body. The barrier shattered. The suppression field collapsed. And every purifier within 20 feet was thrown violently backward. But the cost was immediate and severe. Naruto dropped to his knees, blood streaming from his nose and ears as his body struggled to contain the backlash of uncontrolled power. Naruto. Rebekah was at his side instantly. Not my best idea, he managed through gritted teeth. The purifiers were recovering faster than expected, their leader already regrouping the least injured team members. We need to leave, Rebekah decided. You're in no condition to continue fighting. For once, Naruto didn't argue. The internal damage from his improvised technique left him barely able to stand. Rebekah supported his weight as they staggered toward the escape tunnel entrance concealed behind a false wall panel. The leader of the purifiers called after them. This isn't over, hybrid. The natural order must be maintained. Rebekah triggered the sanctuary's self-destruct sequence as they entered the tunnel, not a dramatic explosion, but a cascade of controlled collapses designed to bury the complex without killing everyone inside. It would buy them precious time to escape. The tunnel sloped upward, eventually emerging in a forested area half a mile from the sanctuary. By then, Naruto had recovered enough to move under his own power, though each step sent jagged pain through his nervous system. That was incredibly stupid, Rebekah scolded once they'd put sufficient distance between themselves and their pursuers. Forcing incompatible supernatural energies together without preparation or control. You could have killed yourself. It worked, didn't it? Naruto countered weakly. Barely. And now you're injured and we're exposed. Despite her harsh words, concern underlay her tone. What exactly were you trying to do? Naruto leaned against a tree, breathing heavily. I thought I could use werewolf energy to power a witch-based barrier breaker. Didn't realize the energies would react so violently. Because they're not meant to be used that way, Rebekah explained, exasperation clear. Each bloodline channels natural energy through different pathways. Crossing the streams, so to speak, creates unpredictable results. Now you tell me, Naruto muttered, wiping blood from his face. Rebekah's expression softened slightly. Though I must admit, it was effective, if suicidally reckless. You continue to redefine what's possible for a hybrid. Lucky me, Naruto grimaced as another wave of pain rolled through him. We need a new plan. The purifiers found us once, they'll find us again. Agreed. And they're clearly more organized and better equipped than I anticipated. Rebekah surveyed their surroundings, calculating options. We need information more than another hideout. Understanding who's backing these purifiers might reveal their true objectives. Naruto nodded, then immediately regretted the movement as dizziness swept through him. I think I know where to start looking. Where? The place all secret organizations in the ninja world eventually connect to, Naruto said grimly. The root of the problem. Rebekah raised an eyebrow. You're being uncharacteristically cryptic. Danzo Shimura, Naruto clarified. Konoha's shadow operative. If anyone in the ninja world is working with or leading the purifiers, it would be him. His philosophies align perfectly with their separatist ideology. You want to investigate one of your own village leaders? Rebekah seemed surprised. That's politically complicated. Danzo operates in shadows by choice. If we can find proof of his connection to the purifiers, we can expose both. Rebekah considered this, then nodded slowly. A direct approach would be suicide in your condition. We need a secure location to recover and plan. I know a place, Naruto said. But you're not going to like it. Sakura's expression shifted from relief to alarm as she opened her apartment door to find Naruto leaning heavily against the wall, Rebekah supporting much of his weight. What happened? She demanded, immediately switching to medic mode as she helped guide Naruto to her couch. Purifier attack, Rebekah explained tersely. The sanctuary was compromised. He forced incompatible supernatural energies together and suffered internal backlash. Sakura's hands glowed green as she ran a diagnostic jutsu over Naruto. Cellular damage throughout his nervous system. Similar to chakra pathway burns, but with an unfamiliar energy signature. Can you help him? Rebekah asked, a hint of genuine concern breaking through her composed exterior. I can stabilize him, Sakura confirmed. But he needs rest to fully recover. While Sakura worked, Rebekah secured the apartment, checking sight lines and potential entry points with practiced efficiency. Bringing purifier attention to Konoha is a significant risk, she commented once satisfied with the security assessment. They were already watching Konoha, Sakura replied without looking up from her healing. Tsunade-sama found evidence of surveillance after I reported back. They've had operatives here for years, apparently. This information caught Rebekah's attention. What kind of evidence? Communication logs, surveillance posts, infiltration reports. And this? Sakura nodded toward a folder on her desk. Personnel files suggesting purifier recruitment from within Konoha's ranks. Rebekah examined the documents with growing interest. These are extensive. How did your Hokage obtain them? Root defector, Naruto answered weakly, consciousness returning as Sakura's healing took effect. Former operative approached Granny Tsunade directly after my transformation became known in certain circles. Said the purifiers had infiltrated Root decades ago. Root? Rebekah questioned. Danzo's personal ANBU division, Sakura explained. Officially disbanded, unofficially still operational. And Danzo is a village elder with his own agenda, Naruto said, sitting up cautiously. Believes in protecting Konoha by any means necessary. Old school shinobi who thinks the ends justify the means. Rebekah connected the dots quickly. You suspect he's working with the purifiers. Not just working with them, Naruto corrected. Based on what the defector told Tsunade, Danzo may actually be leading them, at least the ninja world branch. This revelation clearly surprised Rebekah. A ninja leader heading an organization dedicated to keeping supernatural and ninja worlds separate. That's exactly his style, Naruto finished. Control through division. Keep potential threats isolated from each other so they can't join forces against what he considers the greater good. Sakura finished her treatment, sitting back with visible fatigue. The defector provided locations of several purifier facilities near Konoha. Tsunade-sama has ANBU investigating, but carefully. If Danzo suspects we're onto him, he'll accelerate whatever he's planning, Naruto concluded. Which is? Rebekah prompted. Naruto and Sakura exchanged grim looks. According to the defector, Sakura said, Danzo believes my transformation represents a critical threat to the barrier system separating the worlds. He's initiated something called Protocol Division, a plan to permanently seal the worlds apart. That's impossible, Rebekah stated flatly. The barriers are permeable by design. Making them absolute would require massive sacrifice, Naruto finished. The defector didn't know specifics, but mentioned preparation for necessary losses. Rebekah paced the apartment, mind working rapidly. This changes everything. If Danzo succeeds in permanently separating the worlds, the consequences would be catastrophic. Natural energy must flow between realms to maintain balance. There's more, Sakura added reluctantly. The defector mentioned Danzo has been experimenting with hybrid creation himself. Trying to understand the process that created Naruto's condition. Creating his own hybrids. Rebekah looked genuinely alarmed. That's incredibly dangerous without understanding the underlying principles. He doesn't care about danger, Naruto said. Only results. Their discussion was interrupted by a soft knock at the window, a distinctive pattern that made both ninja relax slightly. Sakura opened it to admit Sasuke, who slipped inside with characteristic silent grace. Perimeters clear, he reported. No sign of root or purifier activity within 3 blocks. His dark eyes assessed Naruto's condition with a quick glance, then focused on Rebekah with open suspicion. The vampire, he stated flatly. The last Uchiha, she returned coolly. Your reputation precedes you. Naruto intervened before tensions could escalate. Sasuke's helping us investigate Danzo. He has personal reasons to see him exposed. The Uchiha massacre, Rebekah noted. Yes, I've heard rumors of Danzo's involvement. Sasuke's eyes narrowed dangerously. What would a vampire know about Konoha's internal affairs? I make it my business to know the political landscapes of all major territories, she replied smoothly. Particularly those with histories of supernatural activity. The Uchiha had supernatural connections? Sakura asked, surprised. All major ninja clans evolved from supernatural bloodlines, Rebekah explained. The Sharingan has particular connections to ancient vampire abilities. The ability to trap opponents in mental realms. Pure vampire techniques adapted to chakra use. This information visibly startled Sasuke, though he masked it quickly. You're claiming Uchiha are descended from vampires? Partially, Rebekah clarified. Most ninja bloodlines are diluted supernatural traits reconfigured to work with chakra rather than natural energy. This history lesson is fascinating, Naruto interrupted, but we have more immediate concerns. Danzo. Protocol division. Permanent world separation. The reminder refocused the group. Sasuke unrolled a map of Konoha and surrounding areas on the table, marking locations with precise movements. The defector identified 3 facilities, he explained. Underground complexes where Danzo conducts operations outside Hokage oversight. This one, he tapped a location 20 miles northwest of the village, shows unusual chakra signatures consistent with barrier manipulation. That's where he'd conduct the ritual for protocol division, Sakura concluded. According to Tsunade's intelligence, we have approximately 5 days before conditions allow for the separation attempt, Sasuke continued. The barrier between worlds naturally thins at certain astronomical alignments. The next occurs during the full moon. The timing sent a chill through Naruto. The full moon. When I'm supposed to undergo my first werewolf transformation. Not a coincidence, Rebekah said grimly. Your transformation would create energy fluctuations in the barrier. Danzo likely plans to use that disruption to initiate the permanent separation. So we have 5 days to stop a village elder with decades of covert operations experience, a private army of specialized ninja, and a head start, Naruto summarized. While I'm preparing for an extremely painful and dangerous first transformation that might actually help his plans. When you put it that way, it sounds almost impossible, Rebekah commented. Naruto grinned suddenly, surprising them. Good thing impossible is my specialty. The unexpected optimism broke the tension slightly. Even Sasuke's lips quirked in what might have been a suppressed smile. We need more information before confronting Danzo directly, Sakura pointed out practically. The Northwest facility is our best lead, but infiltrating a root installation won't be easy. I can get us in, Sasuke said confidently. Root security systems are based on Uchiha designs Danzo stole. I can bypass them. Naruto tried to stand, wobbling slightly before Sakura steadied him. I'm coming too. You can barely walk, Rebekah objected. You need at least 24 hours to recover from that energy backlash. We don't have 24 hours, Naruto argued. Every moment gives Danzo more time to prepare. She's right, Naruto, Sakura sided with Rebekah. In your condition, you'd be a liability. Sasuke and I can gather the intelligence while you recover. Naruto wanted to protest further, but the residual pain coursing through his body made the point for them. Fine, he conceded reluctantly. 24 hours. Then we move, regardless of my condition. The plan came together quickly after that. Sasuke and Sakura would infiltrate the Northwest facility that night, gathering information on protocol division while assessing defenses for a later direct action. Naruto would rest and recover under Rebekah's supervision, preparing for both the mission and his impending transformation. As Sasuke and Sakura prepared to depart, Sasuke paused beside Naruto. Don't do anything stupid while we're gone, he said, the concern behind his gruff tone apparent to those who knew him. No promises, Naruto replied with a weak grin. But I'll try. Once they'd left, Rebekah secured the apartment thoroughly, activating subtle protective measures she'd apparently installed while the others planned. You've been busy, Naruto observed from the couch. Vampire paranoia, she replied lightly. Centuries of being hunted create certain habits. A comfortable silence fell between them as Rebekah finished her security preparations. When she finally settled in an armchair across from him, Naruto noticed she seemed unusually pensive. Something on your mind? He prompted. Rebekah met his gaze directly. You trust them completely. Sasuke, Sakura. Despite knowing one betrayed your village once and could do so again. Sasuke came back, Naruto said simply. He made mistakes, but he found his way home eventually. That's what matters. Such faith in redemption, she mused. It's unusual in my experience. People can change, Naruto insisted. They just need someone to believe they can. Rebekah studied him, something vulnerable flickering across her features. Even thousand-year-old vampires with blood-soaked histories. The question held more weight than her casual tone suggested. Naruto recognized it for what it was, a test, perhaps, or an opening to something deeper. Especially them, he replied without hesitation. More time means more chances to get it right eventually. A small smile touched her lips. Optimistic fool. Been called worse, he said, echoing their earlier exchange. Another silence fell, more companionable than the first. Naruto felt consciousness slipping as his body demanded recovery time. Through heavy eyelids, he watched Rebekah move to check the window security once more, moonlight illuminating her profile. "Why did you really stay?" he asked drowsily. "After the purifiers attacked. You could have reported back to your brother, let me handle my own problems." Rebekah didn't turn from the window immediately. When she did, her expression was carefully neutral, but her eyes held something more complex. "Perhaps I'm tired of following my brother's agenda," she said finally. "Or perhaps I've grown curious about this prophecy and what it might mean beyond Klaus's interpretation." Or Naruto prompted, sensing there was more. "Or perhaps I've grown rather fond of an impossibly optimistic hybrid who sees redemption where others see only monsters." The admission seemed to surprise her as much as him. Naruto smiled as sleep pulled him under. "Knew you liked me," he murmured. The last thing he heard was her soft laugh, genuine and unguarded in a way he'd never heard before. Dreams came vividly as Naruto's body healed, fragmented visions flowing from his awakened bloodlines. Ancient witch covens performing rituals under full moons. Vampire courts holding dominion over medieval territories. Werewolf packs running free through primeval forests. And weaving through it all, glimpses of a barrier taking shape, worlds separating as figures in shadow worked complex seals. He woke to early morning light and the sound of someone in Sakura's kitchen. For a moment, disorientation gripped him, the unfamiliar apartment, the lingering dream images, the strange new senses that made every heartbeat and breath around him audible. "Your friends returned an hour ago," Rebekah informed him, appearing with a mug of what his enhanced smell identified as blood mixed with coffee. "They're reporting to your Hokage." Sakura left blood supplements and healing instructions. Naruto accepted the mug gratefully, the combination satisfying both his caffeine habit and newer cravings. "Find anything useful at the facility?" "Confirmation, mainly. Danzo is indeed preparing for protocol division during the full moon. They found ritual preparations, specialized sealing equipment, and documentation referencing your hybrid nature as the catalyst." Naruto absorbed this grimly. "So I'm not just the target, I'm the key ingredient." "It appears so," Rebekah confirmed. "Your first transformation will create a unique energy signature that Danzo plans to harness. The facility contains specialized equipment designed to capture and amplify transformation energy." "Can we destroy the equipment? Stop the ritual that way?" Rebekah shook her head. "According to Sasuke, Danzo has redundancies. Disabling one facility would delay but not prevent the attempt." Naruto tested his body cautiously, relieved to find the internal damage significantly reduced. Sakura's medical treatment combined with his accelerated healing had worked wonders overnight. "We need to confront Danzo directly," he decided. "Cut off the head of the snake." "Agreed, but not without preparation. Danzo has surrounded himself with protective measures specifically designed against supernatural threats." Naruto's expression turned thoughtful. "The dreams I had, they showed something about the original barrier creation. Seals and rituals I've never seen before, but somehow recognize. Ancestral memories," Rebekah said with interest. "Your witch bloodline showing you relevant history. What exactly did you see?" Naruto described the fragmented images, complex ritual circles, multi-layered seals integrating natural energy and chakra, figures working in concert to create a division between realms. The original separation wasn't meant to be permanent, he realized as he spoke. It was designed with, I don't know, doorways. Controlled passage points that would allow limited interaction, while preventing full integration. That aligns with historical accounts, Rebekah confirmed. The Sage of Six Paths wanted coexistence without conflict. Complete isolation would have damaged both worlds. But Danzo wants to seal even those passages, Naruto continued, excitement building as connections formed. He doesn't understand that natural energy must flow between realms or both will eventually destabilize. Few humans comprehend the delicate balance between worlds, Rebekah said. Even among supernatural beings, that knowledge has largely been lost. Naruto stood, energy returning with his clarity of purpose. I need to access more of those ancestral memories, understand exactly how the original barrier was formed so we can prevent Danzo from corrupting it. There are techniques, Rebekah said cautiously. Which rituals designed to access bloodline memories. But they're dangerous without proper training. Dangerous how? You could lose yourself in the past, she explained. Become overwhelmed by generations of accumulated memories. Naruto considered this risk against the alternative. We need that knowledge. Without understanding the barrier's true nature, we're fighting blind. Before Rebekah could respond, the apartment door opened to admit Sasuke and Sakura, accompanied by Tsunade herself. The Hokage's presence underscored the gravity of the situation. You look better than expected, Tsunade observed, medically assessing Naruto with a practiced eye. Feeling better too, he confirmed. What's the plan? Tsunade's expression was grim. We have confirmation Danzo is preparing for major barrier manipulation during the full moon. ANBU is monitoring his movements, but directly confronting a village elder requires absolute proof of treasonous activity. Which we now have, Sakura added, producing a sealed scroll. Documentation from the facility explicitly outlining protocol division and its potential consequences. Consequences Danzo apparently considers acceptable, Sasuke said coldly. The separation will cause significant deaths among those with mixed heritage or supernatural connections, people with dormant genes like your father carried. The casual mention of what amounted to planned genocide stunned Naruto. He can't possibly believe the village would accept that. He doesn't plan to ask permission, Tsunade replied. The ritual is designed to appear as a natural disaster, an unforeseen consequence of your transformation. The deaths would be blamed on instability you supposedly caused. Making me the villain, Naruto realized. Perfect cover to eliminate supernatural influence from the ninja world permanently. While positioning himself as the solution to the crisis, Sasuke concluded. Rebekah, who had been silent during this exchange, stepped forward. The ritual will require significant power. Danzo must have a major energy source prepared. Human sacrifice, Tsunade confirmed grimly. The facility contained holding cells. Currently empty, but designed for mass detention. He's planning to round up people with supernatural markers in their bloodlines, Sakura explained. Use their life force to power the separation. The scale of Danzo's plan staggered them all. Not just world separation but targeted elimination of bloodlines he considered impure or dangerous. We need to move against him immediately, Naruto insisted. Not without proper preparation, Tsunade countered. Danzo has contingencies within contingencies. A direct assault would trigger failsafes we might not anticipate. Then we need to understand exactly what he's attempting, Naruto argued. I've been having ancestral memories about the original barrier creation. If I could access that knowledge more completely. Memory extraction is too dangerous in your condition, Tsunade began. Actually, Sakura interjected carefully, there might be a safer alternative. The Yamanaka techniques could help organize and access the memories without the risks of traditional witch methods. Tsunade considered this. Ino has been working on modified techniques for trauma patients. Helping them process fragmented memories without reliving the emotional impact. It could work, Rebekah admitted. Combining ninja techniques with which knowledge might allow controlled access to ancestral memories. Decision made, they moved quickly. Tsunade summoned Ino Yamanaka while Sakura prepared Naruto medically for the procedure. Sasuke and Rebekah worked together, somewhat tensely, to secure a larger space suitable for both the memory work and subsequent planning. Ino arrived within the hour, immediately assessing the unusual request with professional curiosity. Accessing ancestral memories isn't something the Yamanaka techniques were designed for, she cautioned as they prepared. But the principles should translate. Instead of entering your current mindscape, I'll try to locate the pathways to these older memories. I can guide you, Naruto offered. I've already found some of the connections through meditation. The procedure was set up in a secure room within the Hokage Tower. Naruto lay on a prepared futon, Ino kneeling beside him. Tsunade monitored his physical condition while Sakura stood ready with medical support. Sasuke and Rebekah remained nearby, tense guardians with very different but equally lethal skill sets. Ready? Ino asked, hands forming her family's distinctive seal. Naruto nodded. Do it. Mind transfer technique, memory pathway variant, Ino intoned, modified for their specific purpose. The connection formed instantly. Naruto felt Ino's consciousness touch his own, her presence a cool blue light in his mindscape. He guided her toward the doorways he'd discovered previously, the access points to his bloodline memories. This is, incredible, Ino's voice echoed in his mind. Your mindscape has completely restructured itself. The witch memories are through the golden doorway, Naruto directed. That's where the barrier knowledge should be. Together, they approached the glowing threshold. Unlike Naruto's previous brief glimpses, Ino's technique allowed for more controlled exploration. As they crossed the threshold, centuries of accumulated knowledge surrounded them, not as overwhelming data but as accessible memory strands. We need to focus on the original barrier creation, Naruto said. The separation of supernatural and ninja worlds. The mindscape responded, memory strands reorganizing to highlight relevant information. Images formed around them, clearer and more detailed than Naruto's fragmented dreams. They witnessed the culmination of the great supernatural war, a devastating conflict between vampire covens, werewolf packs, witch covens, and emerging ninja clans. The Sage of Six Paths stood at the center of efforts to end the bloodshed, working alongside leaders from each faction. The barrier wasn't created to punish or isolate, Naruto realized as they observed the ritual unfold. It was designed as a peace measure, allowing each society to develop separately while maintaining essential connections. These seals, Ino noted, focusing on the complex array the sage employed. They're unlike anything in current ninja techniques. More organic, somehow. The memory shifted, showing the completed barrier taking shape, a permeable division allowing natural energy to flow while creating distinct realms. Crucially, they saw the fail-safes built into the original design, mechanisms to prevent permanent separation. The sage knew absolute division would eventually destroy both worlds, Naruto understood with sudden clarity. Natural energy must cycle between realms to maintain balance. As they delved deeper, they discovered the prophecy's origins, not a mystical prediction but a deliberate failsafe created by the barrier's designers. If someone attempted to permanently seal the divisions, a countermeasure would activate, the emergence of a threefold being capable of restoring balance. You weren't an accident, Ino realized. Your hybrid nature was encoded as a possibility from the beginning, a living key to restore the natural order if someone corrupted the barrier. The revelation stunned Naruto. His existence wasn't random chance but the activation of an ancient safeguard responding to Danzo's interference. We've seen enough, he decided. We know how the original barrier works now. Ino carefully withdrew from the memory pathways, guiding them back to Naruto's primary consciousness. The return to physical awareness was jarring, the bright room, concerned faces, the limitations of normal senses after experiencing ancestral memory. Did you find what we needed? Tsunade asked immediately. Naruto sat up slowly, mind reeling from revelations. More than we expected. The barrier was never meant to be permanent or absolute. It's designed with deliberate pathways for natural energy exchange. And Danzo's attempting to seal those pathways permanently, Ino added, looking shaken by what she'd witnessed. The original creators anticipated this possibility. They built in safeguards. Safeguards like me, Naruto said quietly. My hybrid nature isn't random. It's an activated countermeasure. The barrier system literally created the conditions for my existence when it detected Danzo's interference. This revelation silenced the room. Rebekah recovered first, connecting implications quickly. That explains why the purifiers targeted you so specifically, she said. They're not just afraid of your power, they recognize you as the embodiment of the system's rejection of their goals. And why Danzo needs your transformation energy to complete protocol division, Sasuke added. He needs to corrupt the countermeasure to disable it. Tsunade's expression hardened with decision. We move against Danzo tomorrow. Full operation, ANBU support, all evidence presented to the council simultaneously. The full moon is 3 days away, Sakura pointed out. What if he accelerates his timeline? He can't, Naruto said with certainty. The barrier manipulation requires specific astronomical alignment. The memories showed that clearly. We have a small window to prevent catastrophe. As the others discussed tactical details, Rebekah drew Naruto aside. Her expression held a complexity he was still learning to read, concern mixed with something deeper. You understand what this means, she said quietly. Your transformation isn't just a personal challenge anymore. It's intrinsically connected to the barrier's integrity. Naruto nodded grimly. If I lose control during the transformation, it could create exactly the instability Danzo needs. Which means you need to master it completely in less than 3 days, Rebekah concluded. Something no werewolf in history has achieved on their first full moon. No pressure, Naruto said with gallows humor. There might be a way, Rebekah said hesitantly. A technique my brother developed for his hybrids. It's dangerous and requires. She paused, significant trust between participants. What kind of technique? A blood bond, she explained. My blood contains the power of an original vampire. Combined with a specific ritual, it could help anchor your consciousness during transformation. The catch? Naruto prompted, sensing her reservation. It creates a permanent connection between us, Rebekah admitted. Not mind reading, but awareness. Emotional echoes, location sensing, increased influence over each other. The implications hung between them. Such a bond wasn't something to enter lightly, especially with an immortal vampire whose ultimate loyalties remained unclear. Why offer this? Naruto asked directly. Your brother sent you to bring me back, not form permanent bonds. Rebekah's gaze was steady, but vulnerability showed beneath her composed exterior. Because despite my better judgment and centuries of learned caution, I find myself caring what happens to you. And this world, she added quickly. The admission cost her visibly, 1,000 years of emotional walls briefly lowered. Naruto recognized the significance of the moment and the courage it required. If it helps me control the transformation, he decided, I'm willing to try. Relief and apprehension crossed Rebekah's face simultaneously. We should begin preparations tonight. The ritual requires certain elements. Their conversation was interrupted as Tsunade called everyone back to the central planning. Maps spread across tables, intelligence reports stacked nearby, and determination filled the room as Konoha's finest prepared to confront a threat decades in the making. Hours later, as detailed plans took shape, Naruto found himself on the Hokage Tower's roof, seeking momentary solitude to process everything. The village spread below him, unknowing of the danger facing both their world and the supernatural realm beyond the barrier. Rebekah joined him silently, respecting his contemplation for several minutes before speaking. Second thoughts about the blood bond, she asked. No, Naruto replied honestly. Just thinking about how much has changed in a week. From ninja with a demon fox to vampire werewolf witch hybrid at the center of ancient conspiracies. Life rarely follows expected paths, Rebekah observed. I planned to be married with children when I was human. Instead, I've spent a millennium watching civilizations rise and fall while my family tears itself apart and reforms in endless cycles. Do you regret it? Naruto asked. Becoming what you are. The question seemed to surprise her. No one's asked me that in centuries, she said softly. The answer changes. Some days the weight of time feels crushing. Other days, the freedom of immortality seems worth the cost. And today? Rebekah looked at him directly, moonlight illuminating features that had witnessed history unfold across continents. Today I'm grateful for choices that led me here, to this moment. Whatever comes next. The simple honesty of her answer touched something in Naruto. For all her age and power, Rebekah shared the fundamental human experience of uncertainty, facing futures that couldn't be predicted, only met with whatever courage and wisdom one possessed. Whatever happens tomorrow with Danzo, Naruto said, or during the full moon, or with this prophecy business, I'm glad you found me. Or I found you. However this works. A genuine smile transformed Rebekah's face, making her appear younger, closer to the human girl she'd been a millennium ago. Sentiment, Naruto Uzumaki. How unexpected. I'm full of surprises, he grinned. Just wait until you see what happens when we take down a paranoid village elder with a god complex. Her laugh echoed across the rooftop, perhaps the most honest sound he'd heard from her since they met. As they stood together overlooking Konoha, hybrid and original, an understanding passed between them that transcended words. Whatever bond the ritual might create, something fundamental had already changed. Beyond prophecies and ancient barriers, beyond supernatural politics and ninja machinations, two people from vastly different worlds had found unexpected common ground. And that connection might prove more powerful than any ritual or bloodline legacy in the challenges that lay ahead. The ritual chamber was prepared according to Rebekah's specifications, an amalgamation of vampire tradition and witch practicality. Candles marked cardinal points, ancient symbols drawn in a complex pattern across the floor, and at the center, a space where blood would be exchanged. This looks intense, Naruto commented, taking in the preparations. Very, vampire why? Most of it is actually witch tradition, Rebekah corrected, completing the final symbol. My mother was a powerful witch before becoming vampire. These rituals predate even my transformation. Sakura observed from the doorway, medical supplies ready should complications arise. Despite initial protests, she'd ultimately accepted her role as monitor rather than participant. This ritual required intimacy that wouldn't accommodate observers beyond absolute necessity. The blood bond won't just help with your transformation, Rebekah explained as they took positions at the center of the array. It will connect you to older werewolf instincts, memories from my time when wolves maintained better control. And the side effects? Naruto asked. The permanent connection. We'll sense each other's presence and general emotional states. Distance will weaken but not break the bond. Rebekah met his eyes directly. And I must warn you, blood sharing between supernatural beings can be intense. More intimate than physical connections. The warning carried undertones Naruto didn't miss. This wasn't merely a practical measure but something significant in vampire culture. I understand, he said simply. I'm ready. Rebekah nodded, respecting his decision without further cautions. She produced an ornate dagger with symbols etched into the blade. My blood first, she instructed, drawing the blade across her palm. Dark red blood welled immediately, carrying the power of an original. Then yours, combined with intent. Naruto accepted the dagger, making a similar cut across his palm. Their blood mingled as they pressed their wounds together, completing the physical connection. Repeat after me, Rebekah said, voice taking on formal cadence. Through blood freely given and received, I forge connection beyond barrier. Naruto repeated the words, feeling power building within the ritual circle, not chakra, but something older and more primal. Through ancient rite of pack and coven, I welcome guidance across the threshold of change, Rebekah continued. As Naruto echoed the phrase, the candles flared simultaneously. Energy pulsed between their joined hands, creating a circuit of power that resonated with both vampire and werewolf aspects of his nature. As night follows day and moon cycles eternal, this bond remains until final death claims us both, Rebekah completed the ritual phrases. The moment Naruto spoke the final words, the ritual ignited fully. Energy surged through their connected hands, racing through veins and spinning outward to fill the entire chamber. Naruto gasped as Rebekah's blood entered his system, carrying not just power but fragments of memory, emotion, experience accumulated across a millennium. He saw glimpses of her past, human life in a Viking village, transformation into something other, centuries of joy and pain, love and betrayal, wonder and weariness. Not complete memories but impressions, emotional echoes that conveyed understanding beyond words. And through their connection, he sensed her receiving similar fragments of his existence, the lonely childhood, the struggle for acknowledgement, the hard-won bonds of friendship, the unwavering determination that defined his ninja way. When the surge subsided, they remained connected, physically through their joined hands, metaphysically through something newly formed between them. Naruto could feel Rebekah's presence in a way that transcended normal senses, a golden thread connecting them across previously impermeable boundaries. That was. He began, finding words inadequate. Yes, she agreed simply, equally affected by the exchange. They separated their hands slowly, the wounds already healed by supernatural regeneration. Though physically parted, the connection remained, a subtle awareness of each other that felt simultaneously foreign and natural. Did it work? Sakura asked from the doorway, having witnessed the ritual's visible effects without experiencing its internal components. It worked, Rebekah confirmed, her composure returning though something had fundamentally shifted in her demeanor toward Naruto. He now carries anchors that should help maintain consciousness during transformation. And you? Sakura pressed, perceptive as always. What did you gain from this bond? Rebekah's expression became unreadable. Insurance that my investment in your friend won't be wasted, she replied, deflection transparent to all present. Naruto said nothing, but through their new connection, he sensed the truth beneath her casual dismissal, uncertainty, vulnerability, and something dangerously close to hope. Emotions an original vampire rarely acknowledged, even to herself. The ritual complete, they rejoined the operational planning in the main chamber. Final preparations for confronting Danzo were underway, with ANBU teams receiving specialized assignments and council presentation materials being finalized. Through it all, Naruto remained acutely aware of Rebekah's presence, not distractingly, but as a constant background note like a perfectly tuned instrument. The bond provided stability, a counterbalance to the werewolf energy growing stronger as the full moon approached. As midnight neared, Tsunade called an end to planning. Rest, she ordered the assembled group. Tomorrow we move against one of Konoha's most entrenched powers. I need everyone at full capacity. The teams dispersed to their assigned positions, leaving Naruto, Rebekah, Sakura, and Sasuke alone in the now quiet planning room. You should both stay at the Uchiha compound tonight, Sasuke offered unexpectedly. The security systems there will detect any route movement, and the space is considerable. The practical invitation was as close to warmth as Sasuke typically displayed. Naruto recognized it as acceptance, not just of his changed nature but of Rebekah's presence in their operation. Thanks, Naruto accepted for both of them. But fair warning, I might raid your kitchen. Hybrid metabolism is no joke. There's food, Sasuke replied with characteristic brevity. As they prepared to leave, Sakura pulled Naruto aside. The bond, she said quietly. I can see it affecting you already. Are you sure you understand what you've committed to? Not entirely, Naruto admitted honestly. But it feels right. Like something that was supposed to happen. Sakura studied him with concern. Just be careful. Vampires measure time differently than we do. Permanent means something else to someone who's lived 1,000 years. I know, Naruto assured her. But right now, we need every advantage against Danzo. And afterward. He glanced toward where Rebekah waited with Sasuke. We'll figure it out. One impossible challenge at a time. Sakura's expression softened. That's the most Naruto thing you've said since this whole transformation started. He grinned. Still me in here. Just with bonus fangs and complicated supernatural politics. The journey to the Uchiha compound passed quietly, the village streets nearly empty at the late hour. Through their bond, Naruto sensed Rebekah's appreciation for the traditional architecture and carefully maintained gardens. Her experience of countless civilizations gave her a unique perspective on Konoha's relatively young culture. Your village has a unique aesthetic, she commented as they entered the compound. Elements of several historical periods blended with practical ninja functionality. Most villages developed similarly, Sasuke replied, leading them through the main gate. Konoha prioritized integration with natural surroundings more than most. The first Hokage's influence, Rebekah noted. His would release abilities shaped more than just buildings. Sasuke glanced at her with reluctant interest. You knew the first. Briefly, Rebekah admitted. My family traveled extensively during that period. Hashirama was uniquely committed to peaceful coexistence. Even with supernatural beings he encountered. This revelation sparked genuine curiosity in Sasuke, leading to an unexpected exchange of historical perspectives as they settled in the main house. Naruto observed with amusement as the last Uchiha and the original vampire found common ground in discussions of how past civilizations had risen and fallen. Later, as Sasuke showed Rebekah to guest quarters, Naruto found himself alone in the compound's central garden. The waxing moon hung heavily in the sky, its pull stronger than ever before. The werewolf aspect of his nature responded eagerly, like a musical instrument resonating with a perfectly pitched note. 2 more nights, Rebekah said, joining him beneath the moonlight. How do you feel? Connected, Naruto answered honestly. To the moon, to the earth beneath us, to energies I never noticed before. He glanced at her. To you. Through their bond, he sensed her momentary discomfort with such direct acknowledgement, followed by acceptance. The blood connection amplifies werewolf awareness, she explained. But it should also provide counterbalance during transformation. I feel it, he confirmed. Like having a guide rope in unfamiliar territory. They stood in companionable silence for several minutes, the garden peaceful around them. Through their connection, words became less necessary, shared awareness providing context beyond verbal communication. Tomorrow, Naruto said finally, everything changes. Again. One way or another, Rebekah agreed. Confronting Danzo will force events into motion that can't be reversed. Are you worried about your brother's reaction? This isn't exactly what he sent you to do. Rebekah's smile held centuries of complicated familial history. Klaus has learned to expect the unexpected from me. Though I admit, helping prevent supernatural genocide rather than delivering a prophesied hybrid might surprise even him. Will you return to them? After? The question held weight beyond its simple phrasing. Through their bond, Rebekah sensed his genuine interest in her plans, free from judgment or expectation. I don't know, she admitted with rare candor. For centuries, my existence has orbited my family's dynamics. Recent events have shifted my perspective. Naruto understood the unspoken meaning. Their bond, the prophecy, the impending confrontation with Danzo, all represented potential turning points not just for him but for her as well. Whatever you decide, he said, you'll always have a place here. Blood bond or not. The simple offer touched her deeply, he felt it through their connection. Acceptance without conditions represented a rarity in her extended existence. Let's survive tomorrow first, she replied, deflecting with practiced skill while acknowledging his offer through their bond. Immortality makes long-term planning something of a bad habit. As they returned inside, preparing for the challenges ahead, Naruto reflected on how dramatically his world had expanded in mere days. From ninja of the hidden leaf to nexus point between realms, from Jinchuriki to hybrid, from Hokage aspirant to potential barrier restorer. Yet through these transformations, core truths remained unchanged. The importance of bonds. The strength found in connection rather than isolation. The power of choice over destiny. Tomorrow would bring confrontation with Danzo and his purifiers. The full moon approached with its transformation challenge. Ancient prophecies waited to be fulfilled or rewritten. But tonight, in the quiet of the Uchiha compound, a ninja-turned-hybrid and an original vampire found momentary peace in shared understanding, a connection bridging worlds that forces beyond either sought to permanently divide. Chapter 3, Ascension. Dawn broke over Konoha with deceptive calm. From the Uchiha compound's highest point, Naruto watched the village come alive, knowing everything would change before the sun set again. The operation against Danzo would begin in 3 hours. In 2 days, the full moon would force his first transformation. And somewhere between those events, the fate of 2 worlds would be decided. "You look serious," Rebekah commented, joining him on the rooftop. Through their fresh blood bond, he sensed her genuine concern beneath the casual tone. "Just thinking about how I started the week wanting to be Hokage," Naruto replied. "Now I'm trying to prevent supernatural genocide while preparing to turn into a wolf." "Life comes at you fast," she agreed, a hint of humor breaking through her usual composure. "Though in my experience, the best leaders are those who never actually wanted power." Naruto felt the weight of her centuries behind that observation. Their bond had shifted his perception of her. Beyond the beautiful, dangerous original vampire stood someone who'd witnessed civilizations rise and fall, who'd loved and lost across time spans he could barely comprehend. "Any advice for taking down corrupt village elders?" he asked. "Don't underestimate old men with nothing to lose," she said immediately. "They've survived this long for a reason." Her expression turned serious. "And watch for sacrificial moves. Someone willing to destroy worlds won't hesitate to sacrifice pawns, or himself, to achieve his goal." The warning resonated with Naruto's own concerns. Danzo had always operated through proxies and shadows. Direct confrontation seemed almost too straightforward for the man who'd manipulated events from darkness for decades. "Time to get ready," Naruto said, noting the position of the sun. "Tsunade wants final briefing in an hour." As they descended into the compound, Sasuke emerged from his quarters, already dressed for combat. The Uchiha's dark eyes assessed them both, lingering briefly on the subtle changes in their dynamic since the blood bond. "ANBU reported movement at Danzo's compound," he stated without preamble. "He's called an emergency council meeting for noon." "That's not in the plan," Naruto frowned. "He shouldn't know we're moving against him yet. Unless there's a leak," Rebekah suggested. "Or he's accelerating his own timeline," Sasuke countered. "The full moon is still 2 days away, but he might have found another power source." The implications spurred them into faster preparation. Within minutes, they were moving across Konoha's rooftops toward the Hokage Tower, where teams were already gathering. The village below continued its normal routines, citizens unaware of the momentous confrontation brewing. The command center bustled with controlled urgency when they arrived. Tsunade stood at the center, issuing rapid instructions to ANBU captains. Sakura spotted them immediately, breaking away from a medical team to join them. "Danzo's changed the game," she said without greeting. "He's called for immediate votes on emergency security protocols, thinly veiled authorization for mass detainments. The roundups for sacrifice," Rebekah realized. "He's starting early." Tsunade noticed their arrival and gestured them over. Her expression was granite hard, the Hokage fully in command mode. "Change of plans," she announced to the assembled leadership. "Danzo's forcing our hand. He's convened the council to authorize security measures that will enable protocol division preparations." "What's our counter?" Naruto asked. "Direct confrontation," Tsunade replied. We present our evidence in the council chamber itself. ANBU teams will simultaneously secure Danzo's root facilities and rescue any detainees already captured. Kakashi, who'd been studying operational maps, looked up. It's risky. Council chambers give Danzo home field advantage. We don't have a choice, Tsunade countered. Once he has council authorization, he can legally begin roundups tonight. We'd be fighting our own village's authorized protocols. The situation crystallized for Naruto. You need me there. As evidence. Tsunade nodded grimly. Your transformation is central to his plan. Your testimony about the purifiers, combined with evidence from the facilities, is our strongest case. It's a trap, Sasuke stated flatly. He wants Naruto in those chambers. Almost certainly, Tsunade agreed. Which is why we're not walking in blind. The revised plan took shape rapidly. Tsunade would lead the council confrontation, with Naruto, Rebekah, Sakura, and Shikamaru present as witnesses and evidence providers. Simultaneously, Sasuke would lead a strike team to secure Danzo's primary protocol division facility, preventing any attempt to activate it prematurely. He'll have contingencies, Rebekah cautioned. Men like Danzo always do. That's why I need you with Naruto, Tsunade told her directly. Your experience with supernatural manipulation makes you best qualified to identify and counter any unexpected moves. The assignment acknowledged Rebekah's value beyond her combat abilities. 1,000 years of witnessing political machinations had honed her instincts for detecting deception. Through their bond, Naruto felt her surprise and grudging appreciation for Tsunade's insight. As teams finalized preparations, Naruto pulled Sasuke aside. If things go sideways in the council chamber, he said quietly, don't wait for orders. Destroy the facility completely. Sasuke nodded once, understanding the unspoken directive. If Danzo somehow captured or compromised Naruto, the protocol division equipment had to be eliminated regardless of other considerations. Watch yourself, the Uchiha replied. Danzo's coveted the Nine Tails for decades. Now you represent something potentially more valuable. I'm not easy to capture, Naruto grinned, vampire teeth flashing momentarily. Especially not with an original vampire watching my back. Sasuke's expression remained serious. Don't underestimate him. He survived 3 Hokages and countless assassination attempts. The warning echoed Rebekah's earlier caution. Naruto nodded, acknowledging the genuine concern beneath his friend's stoic exterior. Same goes for you, he replied. That facility will be heavily guarded. A hint of the old Sasuke emerged in his responding smirk. They haven't invented the security system that can stop me. The teams separated, moving to their assigned positions with practiced efficiency. As Naruto joined Tsunade's group heading toward the council chambers, he felt the werewolf aspect of his nature growing increasingly restless. The approaching full moon pulled at something primal within him, making emotions sharper, senses more acute, instincts more demanding. Through their bond, Rebekah noticed his struggle. Focus on the vampire aspect for now, she advised quietly as they walked. It's more controlled, less susceptible to emotional surges. Naruto followed her guidance, mentally shifting his internal balance toward the midnight blue vampire energy. The effect was immediate, the world sharpened into crystal clarity while emotions cooled to manageable intensity. Thanks, he murmured. This hybrid thing still needs fine-tuning. You're adapting remarkably well, she replied. Most would be overwhelmed by a fraction of what you're managing. The council chamber doors loomed ahead, massive wooden structures carved with Konoha's history. Beyond them waited Danzo and the village leadership, unaware of the evidence about to be presented against one of their own. Tsunade paused before the entrance, addressing her team one final time. Remember, we're not just preventing a coup. We're stopping the destruction of supernatural balance that would eventually devastate both worlds. Stay focused regardless of what Danzo throws at us. With that, she pushed the doors open, striding into the chamber with the confidence of a leader who knew exactly where justice stood. The council members looked up in surprise at the unscheduled entrance. Danzo, seated at the far end of the U-shaped table, showed only momentary tension before his face resumed its impassive mask. The bandages covering his right eye and arm, hiding stolen Sharingan and other forbidden modifications, suddenly seemed more sinister with the knowledge of his true agenda. "Lady Hokage," he greeted with false civility. "This is a closed session regarding village security." "Which is precisely why I'm here," Tsunade replied, taking position at the center of the chamber. "The greatest threat to Konoha's security is currently sitting among you." Murmurs rippled through the assembled elders and clan heads. Hamura and Koharu, Danzo's longtime allies, exchanged concerned glances. "These are serious accusations," Hamura began. "With serious evidence," Tsunade countered, signaling Shikamaru to distribute sealed documents to each council member. "What you're holding is proof that Counselor Danzo has been operating an illegal organization called the Purifiers, dedicated to supernatural suppression through genocide." The chamber erupted in confused questions. Only Danzo remained still, his single visible eye fixed on Naruto with unsettling intensity. "The Jinchuriki appears to have undergone some transformation," he observed, cutting through the chaos. "Perhaps explanations should begin there." The tactical redirection was smooth, shifting focus from accusations against him to Naruto's changed appearance. Several council members turned to stare at the subtle but unmistakable differences in Naruto's features. "Naruto Uzumaki has awakened previously dormant bloodlines," Tsunade stated firmly. "Which is his right and has occurred with full Hokage knowledge and supervision." "Those bloodlines appear supernatural in nature," Danzo pressed. "Precisely the kind of destabilizing influence the security protocols before this council are designed to address." Through their bond, Rebekah communicated wordless warning. Danzo was framing the narrative exactly as they'd feared, positioning Naruto as the threat rather than himself. Naruto stepped forward, deciding direct confrontation was needed. "My transformation exposed your organization, Danzo. The Purifiers attacked me directly, identified you as their leader, and revealed your plan to permanently separate supernatural and ninja worlds regardless of the cost in lives." Danzo's expression remained unchanged, but Naruto's enhanced senses detected the subtle acceleration of his heartbeat. Interesting accusations from someone clearly compromised by supernatural influence. "Tell me, do your new vampire instincts include bloodlust? Perhaps werewolf aggression? Are you still Naruto Uzumaki at all, or something wearing his form?" The questioning struck directly at council members' deepest fears: infiltration, corruption, replacement of trusted figures by outside threats. Several hands moved subtly toward weapons. "I am the same person I've always been," Naruto stated firmly. "The only difference is I can now see the barriers between worlds that you've been manipulating for decades." "Barriers that exist for humanity's protection," Danzo countered smoothly. "Established by the sage himself to prevent supernatural dominance over human society." Half-truth, Rebekah spoke for the first time, drawing all eyes to her. "The barriers were created for coexistence, not separation. They were designed to be permeable, allowing natural energy to flow between realms while preventing outright conflict." Danzo's eye narrowed. "And who might you be to lecture us on our own history?" "Rebekah Michael's son," she replied calmly. "I was there when the barriers were created. My family witnessed the sage's work firsthand." The claim silenced the chamber momentarily. Even Danzo seemed caught off guard by the presence of someone who could directly contradict his historical narrative. Tsunade seized the opening. "The evidence before you details Danzo's true plan: protocol division. Not simply monitoring supernatural elements but permanently sealing the worlds apart using mass sacrifice of those with dormant supernatural genes. A necessary sacrifice for permanent security," Danzo recovered quickly. "The supernatural world represents existential threat to ninja society. What are a few lives weighed against our entire way of life?" "Except it wouldn't work," Naruto countered. "The barriers require energy exchange between worlds. Seal them completely and both realms eventually collapse. Shikamaru stepped forward, presenting additional evidence with his characteristic methodical precision. Our analysis confirms this. Protocol division would create temporary separation but trigger catastrophic energy buildup within decades, potentially destroying both realms entirely. Doubt visibly spread through council members as they examined the detailed projections and historical evidence. Danzo's position weakened with each revelation, his justifications undermined by hard data and eyewitness testimony. Then he changed tactics entirely. Perhaps I've been overzealous in my methods, he conceded with apparent humility. My concern has always been Konoha's protection. If the council believes these security measures unnecessary, I will of course abide by their wisdom. The sudden capitulation triggered warning bells for everyone in Tsunade's team. Through their bond, Rebekah's suspicion flared sharply. 1,000 years of political maneuvering had taught her to recognize false concessions. And the purifiers? Tsunade pressed. The detention facilities? The planned sacrifices? Contingency planning only, Danzo replied smoothly. Never implemented beyond theoretical preparation. Before Tsunade could challenge this obvious lie, a tremor shook the building. Then another, stronger. Council members looked around in confusion as dust drifted from the ceiling. What's happening? Koharu demanded. Naruto met Danzo's eye across the chamber and saw what others missed, the faintest hint of satisfaction. Realization struck with chilling clarity. It's a diversion, he said urgently to Tsunade. The facility, he's activated it early. Tsunade's eyes widened. The protocol requires your transformation energy. How? A workaround, Danzo stated, abandoning pretense as tremors continued. Less efficient than using the hybrid directly, but adequate with sufficient substitute power. Substitute power, Rebekah repeated, horror dawning. You've already gathered sacrifices. Danzo stood, surprisingly spry for his apparent age. The process has begun. Protocol division will complete within hours rather than days. The supernatural corruption represented by this abomination, he gestured toward Naruto, will never threaten our world again. Chaos erupted in the chamber as council members reacted to both the physical tremors and Danzo's admission. Tsunade barked orders for emergency protocols while Shikamaru attempted to contact Sasuke's team. No response from the strike team, he reported tensely. Communications are being blocked. Naruto locked eyes with Rebekah, decision made instantly through their bond. We need to get to the facility. Now. She nodded once, already calculating fastest routes. As they turned to leave, Danzo's voice cut through the chaos. You're already too late. Root operatives have secured the perimeter. Your friends walked into a trap. The deliberate taunt about Sasuke's team stoked Naruto's protective instincts. The werewolf aspect surged, responding to threat against pack members. Rebekah's steadying presence through their bond helped him maintain control. Go, Tsunade ordered them. I'll handle things here and send reinforcements when communications are restored. They didn't wait for further instruction, moving with supernatural speed through the tower and onto Konoha's rooftops. The village below had noticed the tremors, citizens emerging from buildings with confused expressions. In the distance, toward the northwest facility, unnatural storm clouds gathered despite the previously clear sky. Energy discharge, Rebekah explained as they raced toward the disturbance. The protocol is drawing power from both realms, creating atmospheric disturbances. How do we stop it once it started? Naruto asked, pushing his hybrid body to maximum speed. The ancestral memories showed failsafes, Rebekah reminded him. If you truly are the countermeasure the system created, you should be able to disrupt the protocol by connecting to the barrier directly. Should be able to. That's not very reassuring. Unprecedented situation, she replied with gallows humor. But your hybrid nature theoretically grants access to all three energy types needed to rebalance the barrier. As they neared the facility's location, the storm intensified, unnatural lightning cracking between clouds while the earth trembled periodically. A perimeter of root operatives guarded the entrance to what appeared to be an ordinary mountainside until closer inspection revealed sophisticated concealment techniques. Hiding a substantial installation. Sasuke's team would have encountered heavy resistance, Naruto observed, scanning for signs of his friends from their vantage point in the treeline. Divide and conquer, Rebekah suggested. I'll create a diversion at the main entrance. You find another way in. Naruto nodded, then surprised her by grasping her arm before she could move. Through their bond, he projected a complex mixture of concern, gratitude, and something deeper that neither had directly acknowledged. Be careful, he said simply. Her expression softened momentarily. 1,000 years of survival instincts don't disappear easily. Without further farewell, she blurred into motion, approaching the facility entrance with the calculated confidence of an original vampire who'd fought through centuries of conflicts. Within moments, alarm spread through the root guards as they encountered a threat beyond their experience or training. Naruto used the diversion to circle the facility, vampire senses identifying structural weaknesses and secondary entrances. He located a ventilation shaft partially concealed by natural rock formations, its defensive seal sophisticated but not designed to counter hybrid abilities. Using a combination of vampire strength and Uzumaki sealing knowledge inherited through his witch bloodline, he disabled the protections and slipped into the facility's depths. The interior buzzed with frantic activity, root operatives rushing to secure sections as alarms blared throughout. Following instinct and the pull of unnatural energy, Naruto navigated toward the heart of the complex. The tremors grew stronger as he descended, the very air becoming charged with conflicting energies that his hybrid senses perceived as visible currents, ninja chakra colliding with supernatural power in unstable patterns. He encountered resistance periodically, guards and automated defense systems that fell quickly to his combined abilities. The lack of elite opposition suggested Danzo had committed his strongest forces elsewhere, perhaps against Sasuke's team or Rebekah's diversion. Through their bond, he sensed Rebekah fighting with controlled ferocity, causing maximum disruption while taking care not to kill unnecessarily. Her centuries of combat experience allowed precision that incapacitated rather than slaughtered, though root operatives who presented genuine threat received less merciful treatment. The facility's central chamber appeared unexpectedly as Naruto rounded a corner. Massive doors stood partially open, energy spilling through the gap in visible waves. What caught his attention, however, were the figures slumped against the wall beside the entrance, Sasuke and two ANBU operatives, unconscious but alive. Naruto moved to them immediately, checking vitals. Sasuke stirred at his touch, eyes opening groggily. Trap, he managed. Gas, chakra suppressants. I've got you, Naruto assured him, quickly assessing their condition. The specialized gas had neutralized their abilities without causing permanent harm, designed to capture rather than kill. Danzo, Sasuke continued with effort. Already inside. Started the protocol early. Rest, Naruto instructed. I'll handle it. Leaving his friends in relative safety, Naruto approached the chamber doors cautiously. The energy pouring through grew stronger with each step, his hybrid nature responding to different aspects simultaneously, vampire essence recoiling from the disruption while werewolf power surged in response to the approaching full moon's influence within the protocol. The witch bloodline provided unexpected clarity, ancestral memories supplying context for what he was seeing. The protocol was forcing the natural barrier into unnatural configuration, bending energy pathways that were meant to remain flexible into rigid separation. Naruto slipped through the gap, entering a chamber that defied conventional architecture. The space extended impossibly in all directions, with a central platform surrounded by concentric circles of complex ceiling arrays. Above, the ceiling opened to the storm-racked sky, while below, transparent flooring revealed depths that seemed to extend into another realm entirely. At the platform's center stood Danzo, arms extended as he conducted energy flows with practiced precision. Surrounding him in smaller arrays were dozens of unconscious figures, the sacrifices, their life force being systematically drained to power the protocol. Most disturbing was the barrier itself, visible here at the nexus point as a shimmering membrane stretching across reality. Cracks and distortions spread through its structure as Danzo's manipulations forced unnatural separation. "Admiring my work, hybrid?" Danzo called without turning, somehow aware of Naruto's presence despite focusing on the ritual. "You're witnessing history, the final separation that will protect humanity forever." "You mean the destruction of both worlds," Naruto countered, moving carefully onto the outermost circle. "The barrier isn't meant to be absolute. The separation will eventually collapse, taking both realms with it." "A necessary risk," Danzo replied. "Better destruction than supernatural dominance. I've seen the alternative, watched for decades as bloodlines corrupted with inhuman traits undermined ninja society from within." The conviction in his voice was absolute, the certainty of a zealot who believed completely in his cause. Through his movements, energy continued flowing from the sacrifices into the barrier, forcing its natural flexibility into rigid separation. "Those bloodlines are ninja society," Naruto argued, moving closer. "The Uchiha, the Hyuga, the Inuzuka, all evolved from supernatural connections. You're destroying the very foundations of the world you claim to protect." "Diluted connections, adapted to human use," Danzo corrected. "Not abominations like yourself, direct supernatural power walking in human form." As they spoke, Naruto assessed the ritual structure, identifying critical points where energy flowed from sacrifices through Danzo into the barrier. Interrupting the process carelessly could kill the captives instantly or trigger catastrophic collapse. "You're afraid," Naruto realized suddenly. "Not just of supernatural beings but of human potential, of what happens when people transcend your narrow definition of acceptability." The accusation struck home. Danzo's rhythm faltered momentarily, energy fluctuating dangerously before he regained control. "I protect order," he stated coldly. "The natural hierarchy with humans at its apex. Supernatural elements represent chaos, unpredictable, uncontrollable power that cannot be permitted in a stable society." Naruto continued moving closer, now within the third circle. "And who decides what's natural? You. The man who stole Sharingan eyes and implanted them in his own body." Danzo's bandaged arm pulsed visibly at the accusation, the stolen Sharingan beneath reacting to proximity of another Uchiha bloodline carrier. "Necessary measures to counter threats beyond ordinary comprehension." "Hypocrisy," Naruto countered. "You use the very powers you condemn when they serve your purpose." The exchange was tactical as much as ideological, each statement designed to disrupt Danzo's concentration while Naruto positioned himself for intervention. Through their blood bond, he sensed Rebekah fighting her way deeper into the facility, eliminating opposition methodically. "Enough philosophy," Danzo snapped, visibly struggling to maintain ritual focus during their exchange. "You're too late to stop the protocol. The separation has begun. Within hours, supernatural corruption will never again threaten our world." As if confirming his claim, the barrier membrane visibly hardened, its natural fluidity calcifying into rigid boundary. The sacrificial victims moaned in pain as more life force was extracted to power the transformation. Naruto reached the innermost circle, now close enough to directly affect the energy flows. His hybrid nature responded instinctively to the barrier's distress, vampire essence seeking connections between realms, werewolf power resonating with natural cycles being disrupted, which bloodline recognizing the fundamental wrongness of the forced separation. "You're right about one thing," Naruto said, supernatural energy building within him. "I am different. But not an abomination, an evolution. A reminder that worlds are meant to grow together, not apart." With that declaration, he released his careful control, allowing all three supernatural aspects to surge forward simultaneously. Unlike his previous disastrous attempt to cross energies, this time he didn't force combination but instead allowed each aspect its natural expression while directing them toward a common purpose, healing the barrier. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Vampire essence flowed like midnight water into the calcifying barrier, restoring flexibility where rigidity had been forced. Werewolf power pulsed in silver waves, reinforcing natural cycles and connections to lunar influence. And witch magic spread in golden light, repairing damaged pathways and restoring proper energy flow patterns. Danzo reacted instantly, redirecting ritual energy to counter Naruto's intervention. Impossible, he snarled, abandoning his composed facade as decades of work threatened to unravel. The protocol is absolute. Nothing is absolute, Naruto replied, pushing more power into the barrier. That's what you never understood. The chamber became a battlefield of opposing energies, Danzo's forced separation against Naruto's natural restoration. The sacrificial victims benefited immediately from the conflict, Naruto's intervention disrupting the drainage of their life force without triggering fatal feedback. Through the newly stabilized sections of barrier, Naruto sensed something responding to his efforts, the original design awakening to his presence. The countermeasure recognizing its purpose. The hybrid nature wasn't random, he realized aloud. The barrier system created the conditions for my existence when it detected your interference. I'm literally its antibody against what you're doing. The revelation visibly shook Danzo, his certainty cracking as fundamental assumptions were challenged. Impossible. The sage designed the separation to be permanent. The sage designed coexistence, not isolation, came Rebekah's voice as she entered the chamber, having dispatched the last defenders. I was there. I witnessed his true intent. Her presence through their blood bond amplified Naruto's efforts, the connection between them creating new channels for barrier restoration. As an original vampire with direct experience of the barrier's creation, she provided historical context that strengthened his intuitive approach. Danzo, recognizing the shifting balance, made a desperate decision. He released the controlled protocol flow and instead channeled all remaining sacrificial energy directly into the separation, a massive surge that would either complete his goal or destroy the nexus entirely. If I cannot protect our world through controlled separation, he declared, then chaotic destruction is preferable to supernatural corruption. The power surge threatened to overwhelm both barrier and chamber. Sacrificial victims convulsed as their remaining life force was forcibly extracted. The membrane between worlds buckled under contradicting pressures. Naruto had seconds to respond. In that critical moment, he made an intuitive leap. Instead of fighting Danzo's surge directly, he redirected his own efforts toward the original barrier design, reinforcing its fundamental nature rather than opposing the attack. The barrier doesn't need to be fixed, he called to Rebekah. It needs to be reminded what it's supposed to be. Understanding instantly, she joined her power to his, focusing on the barrier's original purpose rather than its current distortion. Together, they created a template of proper function, a resonance pattern that the ancient design recognized and responded to despite Danzo's interference. The chamber filled with blinding light as the barrier system itself awoke fully, recognizing the threat to its fundamental design. Energy flows reversed suddenly, the protocol collapsing as original safeguards reasserted dominance over Danzo's corrupted version. The backlash struck Danzo directly, centuries of accumulated barrier energy responding to his attempted corruption. He screamed as power meant to flow between worlds surged through his body instead, overwhelming the stolen Sharingan and other modifications he'd incorporated. No, he gasped, physical form beginning to dissolve under the energy onslaught. Everything I did was for Konoha's protection. Naruto reached for him despite their conflict, instinctively trying to save even an enemy from such a fate. Let me help you. But Danzo recoiled from the offered hand. I would rather die than be saved by the very corruption I fought against. With those final words, his body collapsed into pure energy, absorbed back into the barrier system he'd attempted to corrupt. The protocol machinery shattered, releasing the sacrificial victims from their forced contributions. The chamber stabilized gradually, the barrier resuming its natural state, not rigid separation but permeable boundary allowing controlled interaction between realms. The storm above dissipated as energy flows normalized, returning to natural patterns established centuries before. Naruto staggered, the exertion of channeling three supernatural aspects simultaneously taking its toll. Rebekah caught him before he could fall, supporting his weight with vampire strength. "You did it," she said, rare amazement in her voice. "You actually restored the original barrier design." "We did it," he corrected, leaning gratefully against her. The blood bond made the difference. Through their connection, they shared wordless understanding of what had occurred, how their unique combination of experiences and abilities had provided exactly what the barrier needed to heal itself. Not elimination of the boundary but restoration of its intended flexibility. The sacrifices, Naruto remembered suddenly, turning toward the ritual circles. "Alive," Rebekah confirmed after quick assessment. "Weakened but recoverable. Your intervention stopped the drainage before it became fatal." Relief flooded through him. Despite victory, Naruto took no pleasure in Danzo's fate, understanding the tragic irony of a man so determined to protect his world that he nearly destroyed it instead. "We should check on Sasuke and the others," he said, taking a step toward the entrance before stumbling as exhaustion hit fully. "You've depleted yourself," Rebekah observed, concern evident through their bond. "And with the full moon. Tomorrow night." The reminder sobered him instantly. Despite resolving the immediate crisis, his greatest personal challenge remained ahead, the first transformation, now complicated by energy depletion. One problem at a time, he managed with forced optimism. "Let's get everyone to safety first." They exited the chamber to find Sasuke conscious and helping the other team members recover. The Uchiha's expression shifted from tactical assessment to rare visible relief when he saw Naruto. "The protocol?" he questioned immediately. "Neutralized," Naruto confirmed. Danzo didn't survive the backlash. Something complex crossed Sasuke's features, satisfaction at justice served tempered by the anticlimactic nature of his longtime enemy's demise. "And the barrier?" "Restored to its original design," Rebekah explained. "Permeable rather than absolute, allowing controlled interaction between realms." Medical teams arrived minutes later, Sakura among them. She immediately began treating the sacrificial victims while coordinating evacuation of the unstable facility. Tsunade followed shortly with ANBU reinforcements, securing the site and collecting evidence of Danzo's operations. "The council is in emergency session," she informed them once immediate concerns were addressed. "Danzo's route network is being dismantled as we speak. His allies are either surrendering or fleeing." "And the purifiers?" Rebekah asked. "Disorganized without their leader," Tsunade replied. "Some will continue operating from ideology, but their coordinated threat has been neutralized." As recovery operations continued around them, Naruto found a quiet moment to process everything that had occurred. Through their bond, Rebekah sensed his contemplation and joined him, her presence a steadying influence against the background of chaos. "It's not over," he said quietly. "The worlds are still separate, just less rigidly than Danzo wanted." "As they should be," Rebekah replied. "Complete integration would be as destructive as complete separation. Balance has always been the goal." "And my role in all this? If I was created as a countermeasure, what happens now that the threat is gone?" The question revealed his deeper concern, purpose beyond crisis, identity beyond reactive existence. Through their bond, Rebekah sensed the fundamental uncertainty beneath his confident exterior. The prophecy spoke of reuniting worlds, not just preventing their separation, she reminded him. "Perhaps your role is just beginning, helping both realms remember how to coexist after centuries of forgetting each other." The perspective shift offered new possibilities beyond immediate danger. Naruto considered what it might mean to serve as bridge rather than barrier, connection rather than division. Their reflection was interrupted as Tsunade approached, expression serious. "We need to prepare for tomorrow night," she said without preamble. "Your first transformation comes at a critical moment, the barrier system still stabilizing, supernatural awareness spreading through Konoha, political upheaval from Danzo's exposure." "No pressure," Naruto muttered. "We've secured a containment area in the Forest of Death," Tsunade continued. "Reinforced boundaries, medical support standing by, minimal risk to the village if control issues arise." The practical arrangements highlighted the dangerous reality of what awaited him. Werewolf transformation was notoriously painful and difficult to control, especially the first time. Despite their victory against Danzo, Naruto faced perhaps his most personal challenge yet. "I'll be with him," Rebekah stated, not asking permission but declaring intent. Tsunade assessed the original vampire thoughtfully. "The blood bond you formed. It helps with transformation control. It should provide anchoring," Rebekah confirmed. "Though nothing is certain with an unprecedented hybrid. Then we proceed with all possible precautions," Tsunade decided. "For now, both of you need rest and recovery. Tomorrow will demand everything you have." As they departed the facility, Konoha visible in the distance under clearing skies, Naruto felt the weight of imminent transformation growing heavier. The moon, though not yet full, pulled at something primal within him, the werewolf aspect eager for expression after centuries of dormancy in his bloodline. "Scared?" Rebekah asked quietly as they walked, the question free from judgment. "Terrified," he admitted with characteristic honesty. "Everything I've faced before had clear enemies to fight. This is, fighting myself, in some ways." "Not fighting," she corrected gently. "Becoming. Accepting a part of yourself that's always existed but never had voice." Through their bond, he felt her genuine belief in his capacity to manage the transformation, not blind faith but assessment based on what she'd witnessed of his adaptability and determination. "Will it hurt?" he asked, the simple question revealing vulnerable uncertainty beneath bravado. "Yes," she answered honestly. "The first time is always painful. But you won't face it alone." The promise carried weight beyond words, their bond conveying depth of commitment that transcended their relatively brief acquaintance. Whatever came with tomorrow's full moon, Naruto would not face it in isolation as werewolves traditionally did. They returned to Konoha amid celebration and confusion, news of Danzo's conspiracy spreading rapidly through a village accustomed to political upheaval but unprepared for revelations about supernatural dimensions to their reality. Tsunade had carefully controlled information flow, presenting the situation as discovery of long-forgotten aspects of ninja world history rather than revelation of entirely separate supernatural realm. "Smart approach," Rebekah commented as they observed public reaction from rooftop vantage. "Gradual integration of knowledge rather than shocking disclosure." "People adapt better than you'd expect," Naruto replied. "Especially in a world where giant chakra foxes attack villages and dead ninja get resurrected regularly." His observation drew unexpected laughter from Rebekah, genuine amusement breaking through her carefully maintained composure. "When you put it that way, vampires and werewolves seem positively mundane." The moment of levity eased tension that had built through days of crisis and confrontation. Through their bond, simpler emotions flowed more easily now, appreciation, amusement, camaraderie unencumbered by world-saving urgency. "What happens after?" Naruto asked suddenly. "After the transformation, after things settle. Will you return to your family?" The question had lingered unspoken between them. Rebekah's expression turned thoughtful, centuries of complicated family dynamics evident in her hesitation. "Klaus sent me to bring back a hybrid who could break his curse," she said finally. "Not to become bonded to one who's restored cosmic balance." His reaction would be unpredictable. "That doesn't answer my question," Naruto pressed gently. Rebekah met his gaze directly, something vulnerable visible beneath her ancient eyes. "For 1,000 years, my choices have orbited my family's needs and conflicts. Perhaps it's time to make decisions based on my own path." The non-answer nevertheless revealed significant shift in perspective, consideration of possibilities beyond family obligation representing profound change for someone whose existence had been defined by sibling dynamics for centuries. "Whatever you decide," Naruto said, "you're not alone either." The simple reassurance touched something deep within Rebekah, he felt it clearly through their bond, a wound so ancient she'd stopped recognizing its persistent ache until someone offered healing. They parted to prepare separately for the coming night, each needing space to process personal aspects of recent events. Naruto returned to his apartment, finding it simultaneously familiar and strange, the home of someone he'd been less than a week ago, before vampire awakening and hybrid revelation had transformed his fundamental nature. Sleep came fitfully, dreams filled with running through forests on 4 legs, hunting beneath moonlight, sensations his body had never experienced but his werewolf bloodline remembered clearly. He woke with the certainty that whatever happened during transformation, something essential within him would be forever changed. The day passed in practical preparation, medical examinations, facility inspection, final instructions for support teams who would monitor from safe distance. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi insisted on being present despite risks, positioning themselves at strategic points around the containment area. Just like old times, Naruto commented as Team 7 gathered for final briefing. "Except instead of protecting a client, you're making sure I don't eat anyone." "I've wanted to muzzle you for years," Sasuke replied with deadpan delivery. "Finally seems justified." The familiar banter masked genuine concern, but also faith. His teammates had witnessed his mastery of Nine-Tails' power, his return from sage training, his adaptation to each new challenge. Transformation represented another evolution they would help him navigate, not a crisis they doubted he could overcome. As sunset approached, Naruto and Rebekah entered the containment area, a reinforced clearing deep within the Forest of Death, surrounded by barrier seals and monitoring equipment. The space provided room to move without escape routes, natural surroundings without civilian proximity. "The moon rises in 20 minutes, Tsunade informed them from the observation station. "Initial transformation typically takes 30 to 45 minutes to complete. We'll maintain communication as long as possible." Naruto nodded, already feeling the pull strengthening as twilight deepened. The werewolf aspect stirred eagerly within him, responding to its celestial catalyst. Through their bond, Rebekah projected steady reassurance, her presence an anchor against the rising tide of instinct. "Remember," she said as they took position at the clearing center, "don't fight the transformation itself. That only increases pain and prolongs the process. Focus on maintaining your consciousness through the physical changes." "Easy for you to say," Naruto replied with strained humor. "You get to keep your opposable thumbs." Her smile held genuine affection. "I've witnessed thousands of transformations across centuries. Yours will be different, yes, but the fundamental process remains similar. Trust your body to know what it's doing." The first moonbeams crested the forest canopy, silver light touching the clearing. The effect was instantaneous, werewolf energy surging through Naruto's system with tidal force. He gasped as bones began shifting beneath skin, internal structures reconfiguring for new form. "It's starting," he managed through gritted teeth. Rebekah moved closer, maintaining physical contact as his body began its metamorphosis. Through their bond, she channeled stability, not fighting the transformation but providing psychological anchor as physical form changed. Pain exploded through Naruto as the process accelerated, bones breaking and reforming, muscles tearing and restructuring, skin stretching to accommodate new configuration. He fell to hands and knees, vocal cords transforming mid-scream into something between human cry and animal howl. "Stay with me," Rebekah's voice penetrated the haze of agony. "Focus on my presence. Remember who you are through the change." The advice fought against overwhelming instinct to surrender consciousness, to let animal mind take control during traumatic reconfiguration. Naruto clung to awareness, using their bond as tether to self-identity as his very shape altered around him. Fur emerged through stretching skin, claws extended from restructuring hands and feet, facial features elongated into muzzle while teeth transformed into predator arrangement. Each change brought fresh waves of pain, yet beneath the physical trauma, something exhilarating stirred, primal connection to moon and forest, senses expanding beyond even vampire enhancement. The monitoring equipment recorded physical changes while support teams maintained safe distance, witnessing transformation few had seen in generations. Through specialized communications, Tsunade provided clinical assessment while Sakura monitored vital signs that fluctuated wildly during metamorphosis. Heart rate exceeding measurement parameters, her voice came through speakers. Temperature elevating beyond normal tolerance. Expected, Rebekah replied calmly, never breaking physical contact with Naruto despite his increasingly inhuman form. Hybrid nature provides greater resilience than standard werewolves. The final stages of transformation brought the greatest challenge. As physical reconfiguration completed, instinct surged to overwhelm conscious mind. The werewolf didn't merely want control of body but of identity itself, ancient predator instincts seeking dominance over human consciousness. Naruto fought this mental battle even as his body completed its metamorphosis. Where the Nine Tails had once presented similar challenge for control, now it was his own werewolf nature demanding supremacy. The difference proved crucial. Unlike the Bijou, this aspect wasn't separate entity but part of himself, requiring integration rather than subjugation. Don't fight the instincts, Rebekah guided, sensing his internal struggle through their bond. Incorporate them. They're not foreign but part of your complete self. The insight provided key perspective shift. Rather than opposing werewolf consciousness, Naruto expanded his self-concept to include it, accepting predator instincts, territorial awareness, pack mentality as aspects of a more complex identity rather than threats to existing self. The approach worked. As physical transformation completed, leaving him fully werewolf in form, larger than standard wolves, with distinctions marking hybrid nature, his consciousness stabilized. Human awareness remained primary but enhanced by werewolf perception, creating integrated perspective unlike anything he'd experienced. Naruto? Rebekah questioned cautiously, still maintaining contact with his now transformed body. Are you still with me? The werewolf head turned toward her, eyes maintaining their characteristic blue rather than shifting to animal yellow. Recognition clear in the gaze confirmed consciousness preserved through transformation. Through their bond, Naruto projected affirmation, communication beyond words as werewolf form limited speech capabilities. He conveyed wonder at new sensory experience, appreciation for her anchoring presence, and pride at maintaining identity through metamorphosis. Transformation appears complete, Tsunade's voice came through monitoring systems. Vital signs stabilizing within sustainable parameters. Consciousness indicators suggest identity preservation. The clinical assessment confirmed what Rebekah already knew through their connection. Naruto had achieved what few werewolves managed even after years of practice. First transformation with consciousness intact represented unprecedented success for a new werewolf. You can release containment protocols, Rebekah informed the monitoring team. He's in control. Skepticism came through clearly in Tsunade's response. Are you certain? First transformations are notoriously unpredictable. I'm certain, Rebekah replied confidently. Our bond provides direct awareness of his mental state. He's fully present. After brief consultation with security teams, Tsunade authorized containment reduction, maintaining basic perimeter but removing stronger restrictions that would have activated had control been lost. With reduced constraints, Naruto tested his transformed body cautiously, movement initially awkward as human consciousness adapted to quadrupedal form and altered proportions. Within minutes, however, werewolf instincts provided guidance for natural motion, resulting in fluid coordination that quickly became second nature. Rebekah watched with genuine amazement as he adapted to transformation with unprecedented speed. Through their bond, his exhilaration at newfound physical capabilities flowed clearly, the joy of running with supernatural speed, leaping with impossible strength, experiencing forest through senses no human form could access. Show off, she commented as he executed a particularly impressive vertical leap, landing silently despite massive form. The affectionate tone carried through bond and voice alike, genuine pleasure at his successful adaptation evident beneath teasing words. The night progressed with increasing confidence as Naruto explored transformed capabilities under moonlight. Team 7 eventually joined from observation positions, maintaining respectful distance but present as witnesses and support. Even Sasuke appeared impressed by the controlled transformation, though he masked it with characteristic restraint. The readings are fascinating, Sakura commented, reviewing medical data. His hybrid nature seems to provide advantages beyond standard werewolf transformation, greater control, reduced trauma during change, faster adaptation to altered form. The first of many differences we'll likely discover, Kakashi observed thoughtfully. Unprecedented combinations often produce unexpected benefits alongside challenges. As midnight approached, Naruto's explorations expanded beyond physical capabilities to deeper werewolf awareness, connection to natural cycles, territorial instincts, pack recognition that automatically categorized Team 7 and Rebekah as his core group. Through their bond, Rebekah helped translate these instinctive understandings into conscious knowledge he could retain after returning to human form. The transformation back began with Dawn's approach, moonset triggering gradual reversal of physical changes. Unlike initial metamorphosis, the return proved less traumatic, body following established pathways back to human configuration with reduced pain and greater efficiency. As fur receded and limbs restructured, Naruto maintained consciousness throughout, experiencing the full cycle of transformation with awareness intact. When the process completed, he knelt naked and exhausted in a clearing, human form restored but fundamentally changed by the experience. That was. He managed between heavy breaths, incredible. Rebekah wrapped a prepared blanket around his shoulders, supporting him as post-transformation fatigue hit fully. You did remarkably well. Better than any first transformation I've witnessed in centuries. The bond helped, he acknowledged, gratitude flowing through their connection. Having an anchor made all the difference. Medical teams approached cautiously, Sakura leading with professional focus that barely masked personal concern. Her examination confirmed what they already knew, successful transformation and return with minimal physical trauma beyond expected exhaustion. You'll need significant calories and rest, she instructed. Transformation burns energy at astronomical rates. Ramen, Naruto replied with tired grin. Lots of it. The familiar response drew relieved laughter from his teammates, confirmation that despite physical metamorphosis and supernatural awakening, essential Naruto remained unchanged. Recovery proceeded rapidly over subsequent days, hybrid healing accelerating restoration after transformation stress. The village stabilized similarly, Danzo's conspiracy exposed, Root disbanded, purifier organizations disrupted without leadership. Tsunade managed information flow carefully, introducing supernatural awareness gradually through controlled revelations about historical connections rather than alarming disclosures. 1 week after transformation, as Naruto's strength returned fully, Tsunade summoned him and Rebekah to private meeting in the Hokage office. The formal setting suggested significant decisions rather than routine debriefing. The barrier system has stabilized, she began without preamble. Your intervention restored original functionality, permeable boundary rather than absolute division. But questions remain about long-term maintenance. What kind of questions? Naruto asked. Historical records recovered from Danzo's archives suggest the original barrier required periodic attention from those who understood its design, Tsunade explained. The sage established caretakers with knowledge of both worlds to maintain proper function. The responsibility was forgotten over generations, Rebekah added, connecting historical fragments. As supernatural awareness faded from ninja societies, those who maintained the pathways between realms diminished until none remained. The implication became clear through Tsunade's thoughtful expression. As the only being currently bridging both worlds completely, you represent our best hope for proper barrier maintenance moving forward. The assessment carried weight beyond immediate crisis resolution, suggesting ongoing role rather than completed mission. Naruto considered implications carefully, sensing opportunity beyond burden. You're saying I need to learn how the barrier works, he concluded. Not just to prevent crises but to maintain healthy interaction between realms. Precisely, Tsunade confirmed. Which requires knowledge of both worlds, ninja and supernatural alike. Knowledge currently scattered across fragmented sources. You want me to travel, Naruto realized. Find the lost knowledge about proper barrier maintenance. Not just want, Tsunade corrected. Need. Without proper understanding, we risk repeating Danzo's mistakes from opposite direction, allowing uncontrolled interaction that could prove equally destabilizing. The mission represented dramatic departure from traditional ninja assignments, not protection or combat but exploration and discovery across boundaries few understood existed until recently. Complexity beyond typical responsibilities matched his unprecedented nature. "I accept," Naruto said without hesitation, purpose resonating with newfound aspects of his identity. "But I'll need a guide who understands the supernatural world better than I do." All eyes turned to Rebekah, whose expression remained carefully neutral despite the emotional response Naruto sensed through their bond. "An original vampire with 1,000 years of observation," Tsunade noted. "Difficult to imagine more qualified candidate." "My family has expectations," Rebekah began, automatic response to situations requiring commitment. Then she paused, something shifting in her expression as she reconsidered reflexive reservation. "But perhaps it's time those expectations accommodated my choices rather than directing them." The declaration represented profound shift for someone whose existence had orbited family dynamics for centuries. Through their bond, Naruto sensed both uncertainty and liberation in her decision, fear of breaking established patterns balanced against desire for self-determined path. "Then it's settled," Tsunade concluded. "Official mission parameters will follow, but essentially you'll serve as barrier consultants, identifying historical knowledge, establishing maintenance protocols, creating foundation for long-term coexistence between realms." The assignment formalized what their natures had already aligned them toward, bridge builders between worlds separated too long by artificial divisions. The responsibility matched Naruto's lifelong desire to connect rather than divide, to understand rather than fear difference. Preparations moved quickly after decision was made. Maps identifying potential knowledge repositories were compiled from recovered Purifier archives. Communication protocols established for regular reports to Konoha. Resources gathered for extended journey across territories most ninja never ventured into. On departure day, Team 7 gathered at village gates, formal farewell masking emotional significance with practical advice and good-natured warnings. "Don't do anything stupid," Sakura instructed, medic persona barely concealing friend's concern. "And remember blood supplements if animal sources are unavailable." "Regular reports," Kakashi added. "Especially from supernatural territories outside normal intelligence networks." Sasuke's contribution was characteristically direct. "If your family causes problems," he told Rebekah with unflinching gaze, "remember she has allies who can reach her anywhere." The protective warning from normally reserved Uchiha surprised both recipients, Rebekah with its directness, Naruto with its implicit acceptance of their connection. Through their bond, he sensed her genuine appreciation for such straightforward loyalty despite its unnecessary nature. "My brothers underestimate many things," she replied with equal directness. "Adding your determination to that list would be unfortunate for them." The acknowledgement of Team 7's protective capacity completed something unspoken, recognition that bonds extended beyond village boundaries to include their unusual partnership. Whatever her family's expectations, Rebekah had found unexpected connection with people who valued Naruto's welfare above supernatural politics. Final goodbyes exchanged, they departed under morning sun, hybrid and original, ninja and vampire, unlikely partners united by blood bond and shared purpose. The road ahead led toward supernatural territories few ninja had visited in generations, knowledge repositories scattered across continents, an inevitable confrontation with expectations from both worlds they navigated. Having second thoughts? Rebekah asked as Konoha disappeared behind them. "This journey takes you far from Hokage ambitions. Maybe this is the better path," Naruto replied thoughtfully. "Being bridge between worlds instead of leader of one. Philosophical already? Transformation has changed you." "Not where it counts," he grinned, pace quickening with characteristic enthusiasm. "I'm still the most unpredictable ninja around, just with bonus vampire and werewolf abilities now." Her laugh echoed genuine amusement, the sound increasingly frequent as their bond deepened beyond initial necessity toward something neither had anticipated when original vampire first sought prophesied hybrid. As they crested hill overlooking landscapes beyond Fire Country, futures unwritten spread before them, supernatural communities rediscovering ninja world after centuries of separation, ancient knowledge awaiting rediscovery, barrier pathways requiring restoration after generations of neglect. Which way first? Naruto asked, possibilities radiating in all directions. Rebekah considered briefly, 1,000 years of collected knowledge informing her assessment. West. The oldest vampire covens maintained libraries predating the sage. If barrier maintenance records survive anywhere, their archives would contain them. West it is, he agreed easily, supernatural senses already adapting to journey parameters. Race you to the border? Before she could respond, he blurred into motion, hybrid speed combining vampire swiftness with werewolf power and ninja training into something uniquely his own. Rebekah's delighted challenge followed instantly, original vampire refusing easy victory despite his newfound abilities. They raced across landscape as morning sun illuminated paths untraveled for generations, between worlds, between identities, between solitary pasts and connected futures neither had imagined possible before fate and prophecy brought unprecedented hybrid and ancient vampire together in partnership that transcended both their natures. The journey had just begun, but already something fundamental had transformed beyond physical change or supernatural awakening. Through blood bond and shared purpose, isolation that defined both their existences had yielded to connection stronger than either world alone could provide. Whatever challenges awaited, family expectations, supernatural politics, barrier maintenance complexities, they would face them not as separate beings from divided realms but as something new. Bridge builders. Boundary crossers. Proof that worlds meant to remain distinct could nevertheless connect through those who understood both. The hybrid and the original. Naruto and Rebekah. Racing toward horizon where supernatural and ninja worlds converged, their laughter carrying promise of integration without loss, connection without compromise, and future limited only by imagination rather than artificial divisions between realms that always belonged in balanced harmony. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.